So, hello, I'm Shane.
I'm Nick.
And we're going to talk about a few things today. We were just having a quick conversation about like general lawlessness and kind of more into the morality of what law actually should be when you pull out like overly aggressive totalitarian individuals who go against the law and try to use, you know, an overarching umbrella term to cover what they're doing. Where we were talking about how the misconception of anarchy is a completely lawless state and that, you know, everybody's running around hurting each other, looting and stealing things, when in reality the idea of anarchy is...
rules without rulers.
Yeah, rules without rulers. People ruling each other, teaching each other things, working for each other, helping each other, without having anybody standing over you saying,
Yeah, or more accurately, holding a gun to your head, basically, and saying,
100%.
Oh, if you don't do this, then the police will come after you, and there is no crime too small for the police to kill you if you defend yourself enough.
That's exactly the point. And one of the things that in the green room here that we were just talking about was that how do I explain this? Is that when somebody witnesses a crime, the biggest thing that they do nowadays in reaction is to pull out their phone and videotape it. And they'll sit there on the video and say, oh, you're going to lose your job. You're going to be famous. You're going to lose. Oh, I can't believe you're so crazy. When the person that they are filming is literally being beaten to death. And, not to pick at a sore scab here, but on my Instagram page after the George Floyd murder, what wound up happening was I just kind of lost it. And I went off and I started talking about, you know, when you see something, do something. Don't film it. And, you know, that's in only so many words, but I had a very good friend of mine who's, strangely enough, very famous, come at me and message me, and she goes, well, they couldn't do anything because the people filming were also afraid of afraid for their lives. And I'm like, okay, well, a man actually died. Like, a man was murdered right in front of you, and you're gonna say, oh, I'm afraid for my life. Like, oh, yes, so in this case, you understand that somebody is going to be hurt or attacked. Do you want a man to lose his life, or do you want to be pepper sprayed? Like what? I think that the people that film police murdering people and don't step in and just stand back and it's like, oh, well, I don't want to get shot. That's despicable. I haven't seen that in front of me, but every time that I watch one of those videos, my body like forces me to stand up. I'm sitting like, oh my God, I just want to reach out right now. I want to help that man. I want to help that woman.
In a sense, they're not legally culpable because that's just not how the law is written, but they are morally culpable.
Exactly.
They have the power to stop it, but they're not stopping it, and so they are actually, you know, like, I always go back to this, and it's actually very applicable in an anarchist way of thinking. You know, the old saying from Spider-Man's Uncle Ben, you know, with great power comes great responsibility.
100%.
You have a proportional responsibility to use the power you have for good.
Yes.
And to not use it to do harm.
And I do understand like the racial aspects of all of these things to a certain extent. But one of the things that really kind of sickened me to my core the other day was there was two cops who were pretty much doing the exact same neck crunch that George Floyd died from to like a 15-year-old black boy. And the cop that was on his neck was a black cop. And people tried to step in. And the cop pulled out his gun, staring the people in the eyes who were filming, pointed the gun at the kid's face, and said, if I were you, I would step the fuck back.
What the fuck?
I'm not even joking. I'm no exaggeration whatsoever. And then after they backed up, he put his gun back in his holster.
That is fucking twisted.
But this man was willing to murder a kid because somebody was trying to save his life.
That is fucking twisted.
He was willing to take his life instantly because somebody was trying to step in and try to tell him that you do not have the right to take his life slowly.
Oh my fucking god.
Yeah. And
this is kind of the shit that, yeah, I mean, so I mean, we're in complete agreement as far as like, matter of fact, actually, I think of, I always think of the quote from Chris Rock where he's saying that police are like pilots. Some jobs you just can't have any bad apples.
Yes.
Like,
doctors have malpractice insurance because if you have a doctor that fucks something up, they have to be held accountable for taking a life or failing to save a life or making a mistake for some reason, whatever it is. They're held accountable. For some reason, the people that we charge with keeping us safe, we hold on such a high pedestal above even more important jobs, and we keep them like so high up that they can't be held accountable for their actions. So some of these people slip through the cracks, and they're just psychopaths that we just hand a gun. And it's disgusting.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Yeah, and I mean, and it's interesting because when you think about, like, a doctor has to have malpractice insurance, but a cop, for some reason, what's the insurance policy on a rogue cop? Oh, they might get arrested themselves and go to jail?
No, they're gonna get but they're gonna get put on paid leave or they're going to get transferred to a different station.
Yeah. So this is the kind of thing that where, like, the way I kind of come at this is, now I'm a voluntarist, which is also probably more popularly known as an anarcho-capitalist. So I do not believe in the legitimacy of government at all, period. Like, it's based on the initiation of force and coercion and on theft. And so you cannot have a moral state. Yeah. And part of my problem is the monopoly on violence that the state has. Now, I'm really not a big fan of any of this kind of stuff, but, like, you know, police and military, right? I'm going to focus on mostly the police for this instance, but you have people with a badge that says, I am solely allowed to initiate force.
But if you use force against me, I will kill you.
Basically. And if you use force against me, I will kill you, and I will get away with it because I have the right of way to use force because of my badge, and you're disrupting a police officer, and you're an obstruction to justice, and you're a threat to the police or whatever.
Well, no, I definitely understand where you're coming from, but the thing that gets me is people always bring up the argument, well, doesn't that police officer get the right to go home to his family? And there's two things that come to my mind. It's like, well, doesn't the guy that he shot, who was not being aggressive and not, like, just talking to the man, and the cop got just angry and shot, doesn't he have the right to go home to his family? And second off, this is going to be kind of contentious here, but the cop, no, he does not have the right to go home to his family. When you take that badge, when you put on that uniform, when you finish the academy and sign on to a certain station to be a cop, you give up that right. You are in service of the American people. You are here to keep us safe. You are here to do everything possible to make sure that every single person around you goes home safe to their family, while you actively give up that right because you chose a job that tells you that you give up that right. You do not get to choose your life over one or two other people. You are, as a cop, as a soldier even, when you sign up to the military, it's kind of in the same vein. When you sign up to the military, you put everyone else in your country above yourself. So why is it that people never make that same argument for soldiers? Like, they know that they're going to give their life for their country. That's the same thing that a cop signs up to do. You put yourself in harm's way because you signed up for this job. You do not have the right to go home to your family.
I'm not going to say I disagree with the general theme of what you're saying. I think maybe the terminology might be...
I'm not saying that you shouldn't go home to your family. I'm saying that...
Okay, so that would be the right to go home to your family, is that you should be able to, provided that, nothing has... I mean, like...
But your life does not matter more than the vast majority of the general public that you police. If you have to give your life so that 2 people get to survive, and the violence is quelled at that point, that's fine. But the thing that I see wrong is that a lot of people don't understand that the cops will say, "Oh, well, don't I have a right to go home to my family?" after they have instigated the violence. There is no a lot of times there's no violence until the cop instigates. So there's
this gets into the non-aggression. This gets into the non-aggression principle.
Yes, because when you feel that your life is threatened, you're going to react. So if a cop makes somebody aggressive and then shoots that person, it's the cop's fault. I
think a good example of this was a difficult situation because the Rayshard Brooks thing. I was very disappointed to see that go as far south as it did, because it was the cops were fine in that situation up until he overreacted. He grabbed their taser and he became a threat. And I think they overreacted by shooting him the way they did. I think if they had shot to incapacitate, maybe, that would have been acceptable. But
it's also, he only had one taser. The other cops on the scene also had tasers.
Yeah, they could have tased him. They could have taken out their tasers and incapacitated him.
The idea that these cops are sent out with a tool belt full of non-lethal options and they choose lethal force every single time is a big problem. That speaks to training. It's a lot of it speaks to training, but it's a lot of things that I see backed up by cop apologists. I used to work for a couple of guys that they thought, because they were friends with police in my town and surrounding towns, so they thought whatever a police officer did was totally justified under any circumstance, no matter what.
Yeah, no. No.
But, the thing that gets me the most, though, is the Breonna Taylor case.
I'm not as familiar with that one.
So what happened there is 3 police officers performed a no-knock raid on her house.
Okay.
Got the wrong house.
God.
Came in guns a-blazing, and her partner, I think it was her boyfriend, or somebody else in the house, a male figure in the house, shot at who he thought were people robbing the house. This 24-year-old EMT, Breonna, I think she was 24, was sleeping, and they came in and shot her to death.
Oh my God.
Yes, and the cops are still out there walking around with their jobs.
Oh my God.
That is why there are people in the streets right now. That is why people are protesting. That's disgusting.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what I was talking about that monopoly on violence that the state has. And the way I look at this from that ANCAP perspective is what we were talking about earlier with doctors have malpractice insurance. The state does not have that for police.
Yeah.
And so if the police were privatized, then you would have malpractice insurance for police, because if they're free market entities that have a risk of going out of business, if they,
But then the unfortunate part is at that point they're basically mercenaries. Well, mercenary also kind of falls under a bad umbrella of social definition.
Yeah, there's a social stigma to the idea of a mercenary, but
yeah, because I see where you're coming from, and I just wanted to finalize my standpoint before you try to defend your stance there, because I wanted to get all of my information across so that you had more information to kind of counteract in your argument.
Okay, so of a person or their behavior primarily concerned with making money at the expense of ethics. That is not what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Well, so what I'm
then
talking about,
I guess in my head I have the social definition of mercenary going on.
Yeah. So what I'm talking about with privatized police is a security force, not I'm going to hire you to go fuck with this guy because I don't like him. They don't do that.
No, but I'm going to hire you to protect this town.
Right. I'm going to hire you to protect me or however many people I want to pay for you to protect. And if anyone harms us or attempts to harm us, you step in to protect us. You step in to stop it. Now, this comes with malpractice insurance, obviously, because it's a private contract. And just like any other business, that if you do not behave ethically, if you don't uphold your contract, which in this case would be to not abuse your power, right?
Yep.
Then if you don't uphold that contract, not only are you not going to continue to get business because people are not going to want to do business with a company that acts the way you do, but you're going to have an insurance clause that you're going to have to pay. You're going to have to pay out however much that insurance clause is to every person you have a contract with. Whether or not you broke their individual contract, it's the part of the clause in their contract would be, if there is any violation of any contract by this entity, this security organization, you get a payout. So
there's obviously there's a financial incentive to non-lethal options.
Right.
And also at that point, all of these people will be held accountable. But you also have to, because of the way that we kind of treat law enforcement and the way that we treat people who uphold any socially accepted rule or law, we often kind of let those things slide under the rug. So we also need to reform the way that we, go after and punish these people. Because oftentimes they just straight up do not get punished. So we need to make sure that that is upheld. We don't just have a paper contract that becomes arbitrary because politicians don't want to punish these people. We need to make sure that that contract is upheld.
Right, and I just checked my mental math here. So in my town, there are about 21,000 people, right? Let's say the police in my town have an insurance policy where, let's say they're free market entities, and they have an insurance policy where it's $1 million if they abuse their power, right?
Yep.
And everyone who they have a contract with gets $1 million payout if they break that contract.
Yep.
If they abuse their power and they engage in police brutality, every single person that they have a contract with gets $1 million.
Which could be, several hundred people.
Right. Let's say that they have a contract with all 21,000 people in this town.
Yep.
That's $21 billion.
Well, how do you enact that?
So here's the thing. Human nature is to respond to incentive. If the
And that is incentive for higher training, too.
Exactly. So they're going to spend more money on training to make sure that the people they hire are sane, emotionally stable, capable of acting appropriately under pressure, and know how to use their weapons. Because it's cheaper to pay for better training than it is to pay out $21 billion lump sum
for one single town, for one single
one cop fucking up.
Yeah.
That's right. So this is the point, is that they have a huge financial incentive to have the best of the best.
Yeah.
And to behave as well as humanly possible. And human nature is to respond to incentives. Like it's coded into us. Like everyone, I always find it annoying when people try to either be pessimistic and say, well, human nature is just violence and greed, or human nature, or try to be overly optimistic and say, well, human nature is only our better angels, and all violence and negativity is some perversion of that. And it's like, no, human nature is neutral. Human nature is to respond to incentive, because incentive is, well, what is going to help me survive?
Well, that's I think where they're kind of getting lost in translation there, because human nature definitely is to survive, but sometimes, human nature is not a black and white thing. It's different for every single person, but the obvious incentive is to survive. So if somebody believes, down to the core of their being, that to survive, to be able to make it further, they need to eliminate the person in front of them. That's part of their human nature, and it's part of what their brain is telling them. Like, I need to get rid of this person, because if I don't, the human race and myself, my friends, my family are going to be in danger because I think this person is bad, which is and basically what racism is. Yeah, and that's and this kind of goes back to, and that's a like a lizard brain kind of instinctive thing, right? So, yeah, that's your that's first thought versus second thought, but a lot of people don't have second thought, the characteristic thought. Right, and so the defining trait that separates us from other apes is that we have the ability to compare proposed actions to ideal standards. We have the neocortex. We can process sense data consciously. And we have free will, which is that ability to compare proposed actions to ideal standards. If, let's keep it simple. Like, let's say a kid, right, they want to eat nothing but sugar, right? Yeah. But they're taught that, well, that's not good for you to do because, it could lead to diabetes and can rot your teeth if you don't take care of it, right? So if you teach a kid the ideal standard of having healthy teeth and not being diabetic and all that, right? It's preferable to not have those maladies. Then what a kid can do is say, geez, I really want to eat this, but will this lead to a negative outcome that is in opposition to the ideal standard of having good teeth and being healthy, right? Yeah. So that's kind of what that is, right? So the kid can then say, I could follow my impulse to eat this, or I could just say, no, I don't think I'm going to eat this right now. And now, obviously, the incentive, the impulse, the biological incentive is, well, sugar is high in energy. Right, it tastes good. It's high in, and it tastes good to us because it's high in energy. Yeah. Right? So you get a lot of what you need to survive by eating sugar. It gives you a burst. Well, it doesn't give you necessarily the nutrients. So, eating a candy bar tastes very good to a child, but eating a full balanced meal doesn't taste as well because it's not as easy to eat. It's not quick. It's not as tasty, and they don't get the same slow processed like energy from it as they would, over processed sugar immediately. Getting the energy. Right. The chocolate will fuel your cells, but it won't give you everything you need. Right. Yes. And they don't understand that at the end of the day when their fingers are twitching. Right. So that's the thing. So the biological incentive is this tastes good. I like the sensation that this gives me. Also, it gives me energy, even though they're not really aware of that biological process, but it gives me energy. It makes me feel good to eat it, so I want to eat this. That's the attraction to junk food. But the ideal standard is, well, you want to be healthy, right? So is it better to make the choice to eat that thing to feel good in the moment, or is it better to maybe set that aside and eat something a little bit better for you? So that's the idea behind proposed actions and ideal standards. That's free will. Yeah, but if we're going to go off that same concept, just going off of the same child with the candy bar thing, the best thing for the person in charge to do is either teach them that when they're of age to understand, or from a very young age use negative reinforcement. Where, well, listen. Because I'm not going to say I'm going to hit you if you eat a chocolate bar. I'm saying if you eat that chocolate bar, you're going to have to brush your teeth right after. And what kid likes brushing their teeth? Right. So you use something like that. It's oh man, well if you use that chocolate bar, if you eat that chocolate bar rather, you really have to help mommy do the dishes because that's what you do after eating a chocolate bar. Right. You help mama do the dishes, or you have to brush your teeth, or oh man, you eat the chocolate bar, you immediately have to get into the bathtub. That's just, that's what you have to do after eating a chocolate bar. Right. So you have to find a way to appeal to that within reason because, people aren't going to listen no matter what you do. You've got a decent brain in the fact that you can step back most times before reacting. Or if you start to react, you pull yourself back and then you formulate an idea and understand okay, my first reaction was this, but when I really step back and analyze what I was feeling in the moment compared to, what I just did, I didn't react properly, so I'm going to try to formulate a response in accordance with that. Most people don't do that. So when you tell someone, hey, if you wear a mask for 4 weeks, we will be in the same position that all of these other countries like Norway, Sweden, and Finland are in, where these guys can walk around without masks. People at the restaurants are back opened up and everything. And some people cannot process that, and they say, it goes against my freedom. I have a breathing problem. And I'm like, I cannot wait till the day that happens to me, because I have near severe asthma, and I spray mosquitoes for a living, so I wear a full respirator, and I have asthma. So somebody saying I have a medical condition, I have the most severe medical condition when it comes to wearing a mask, and it doesn't affect me one bit. So when somebody tries to go off saying I have a medical condition, they are just trying to reinforce their viewpoint of this is America, I have the freedom to not wear a mask and stuff like that. Other countries don't do that.
Yeah, well, I think, and not to jump in too soon, but one thing I think is important to note is what I tend to see when it comes to people saying like, hey, this goes against our freedoms. It's not the mask itself. It's the enforcement of it that they get upset with. So like, I've seen a lot of people say this is that if you just asked us, right. So, but what people have said is like, look, if you just asked us, and just said like, hey, if you guys could just do this for a few weeks, everything will be fine, and everything can go back to normal. But it's the mandates. It's when they say, no, you have to wear it, or otherwise you can't go here, here, or here. It's like, that's where people get a little pissy. And I think that's, to an extent, I mean, it's understandable.
But it's not right. It's not correct in any form.
Yeah, I think it's a bad idea to just be like, oh, no, fuck this, I'm not going to even bother, and it's whatever. At the same time, I don't think the mandates are right. So I'm kind of in the middle on that, where it's like, I don't think they're entirely wrong, but they're not entirely right either.
I think the mandates are only correct for trying to keep people safe.
Well, the thing is, typically what we do is we quarantine the people who are at risk, and the rest of society is allowed to function and build immunity, right? That's how we would normally handle something.
The problem with that is that this particular pandemic has shown that it doesn't give a shit about our immunities. This thing is wild. It's like something that we haven't seen for the last 100 years. We cannot apply the same logic to this particular virus.
What do you mean exactly?
I mean that young people who are not at risk are getting this and dying. And young people who are not at risk, or old people who are not at risk, are getting this and recovering from it. But the thing is that it passes through their system so that they don't have it anymore, but it wreaks so much havoc that they can't live a normal life anymore. Like, people are having actual permanent lung damage and permanent heart damage because of, like, recovering from this virus. This isn't just like a mild influenza and then it goes away. Some people, yes, it may hit you like that, but some people have actually committed suicide because the symptoms and like going through this disease are absolutely too much physically for them to go through. So we can't just say, yeah, we get to go around and build up an immunity, because it so wildly varies from person to person that that's not a fair thing to try to defend. Because the idea is that we put on the masks because you don't know how somebody else is going to react. You don't know how you're going to react. You may be okay for 3 months, and then all of a sudden one day you're violently coughing up blood. You go into a bank and start causing a ruckus because you don't want to wear a mask, and 3 weeks later you're dead. After 3 months of not wearing a mask. We don't know everything about this. I mean, building a vaccine for these things takes 2 to 2.5 years, and they're trying to say, we're going to have a vaccine in 6 months. Good luck. It's never worked like that in the history of medicine.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen I've seen a lot of conflicting information on like survival rates and how people are affected by it. So I'm not going to sit there and say that none of what you described actually has happened, or
Yeah, well, my grandmother died from it a couple of months ago. So
yeah, my uncle might have. He might have also just had regular pneumonia. I don't know, but anyway, my point is, like, I've seen a lot of conflicting stuff, like people saying, like there again, because like you said, it does radically vary from person to person.
So there is no actual paradigm to follow.
Yeah, it's very difficult to pin down. Like, some people are going to be totally fine, like they'll have it and then, oh, okay, it was like I never had it, and then other people might have a much harder time with it. Yeah, and then I also heard something back when this was kind of starting, that it functions almost like a retrovirus, like HIV, in that the spike protein, now, I'm not a microbiologist, I don't know enough about this to really be coherent on the topic, but something about the spike protein affects males more, and it can actually infect the testes, and depending on whether or not it gets into the seminal line or the germ line, it could actually replicate into future generations. I haven't seen anything following up on that. That was a while ago, but
no matter what all these details are, you know what the overarching theme here is that we need to just fucking listen. We don't have medical degrees. These women and men going into restaurants and going into stores saying, I don't need to wear a mask. You do not have a medical degree. You don't get to say, the state says that I have a medical issue, so I don't get to wear a mask. It's not about that. The thing is that if you don't like what's going on, listen for 4 to 6 weeks. We will flatten this shit out just like the other countries have done, to the point where we don't have to worry about, oh, I wear a mask, I don't need to wear a mask, blah, blah, blah. We are one of the only countries that I've seen, and I have friends in South America, I've got friends in Canada, I've got friends in Europe, I have friends in Asia, I have friends in the Philippines, I've got friends all over that are telling me that, no, we don't have to wear a mask anymore. We have such small amounts of cases that nobody is getting sick at a rapid pace anymore. In America, the only country on the planet who absolutely refuse to wear a mask, by and large, we have like a 60% rate of people who do not want to wear masks and don't. And we are the only country whose COVID cases and deaths are still rising at an alarming rate. There's other countries that have cases that are rising, I get it, but the death rate is falling. Mm-hmm. But, and I know, it's just, my point is that this is stupid to talk about, because if everyone just said, hey, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor, so I'm going to listen to the scientists and doctors, wear my mask for 4 weeks, we would be in such a good position. But we're not, because everyone wants to put the flag before the health and safety of their country and the health and safety of their neighbors.
Yeah, I think that's valid. I think what you're saying there is valid. I think my main concern,
and I don't care if we're forced to do it, man. I don't care if there's a mandate or a law to do it, because the mandate and the law, think about it for a second. If they mandate us to wear masks, we have a country. However, if this thing was let's give a hypothetical. Let's say this thing was ravaging people. Like,
Black Death.
Black Death, it's like a zombie plague out there, and we still have Karens out there going, I'm not wearing a mask, blah, blah, blah. 100% of the people in the United States will die. We do not have a country at that point. So there is no flag to stand behind. There is no, I have freedom. There is no, this is America. No. Everyone is fucking dead. So that mentality, even right now, is dangerous, because, yes, right now we may have kind of a handle on it and know how to deal with it, but let's say that the next time something comes around, we don't have that, and it is ultra deadly. Having that same mentality destroys the nation because you want to be selfish.
Yeah, and I think that, again, and I think that does make a good case for why we should just do it voluntarily. I think, again, it becomes concerning when you start mandating those things, because if they can mandate this and they can shut down the economy and all that kind of stuff, put people. I actually know a guy who his business wasn't even open. He had a party store. He wasn't even open for 6 months, and the government basically put him out of business.
Yeah, it happens. That's part of life, man.
Yeah, I think it's pretty fucked up. But my point is, like, what other, and this is a valid concern again, because I'm not really one to trust monopolies on power. What other things? Again, it starts small. It's just wear a mask. And then, what other things can they mandate when you give them the clear to do? Give them an inch, they take a mile, kind of thing. And now it is kind of it borders on slippery slope, and so I don't chain myself to it, but I do get.
I think that's an absolute definition of slippery slope, because we're literally asking people to put a piece of cloth in front of your mouth.
No. Because what I'm saying, it's not about the cloth at that point. It's about the government at that point. So, and we know that governments always take a mile when you give them an inch, like without fail.
I definitely understand where you're coming from, but in general, concerning the pandemic, we have to stop thinking about the fucking government. We have to start thinking about the health and safety of our neighbors. Like, I cannot think for 1 second that it's both at all, because this is not, hey, we're going to force you to pay these taxes. Hey, we're going to force you to join the military. It's, hey, we're going to force you to do this so that at the end of this we have a country left to deal with. We have people here. We're going to force you to do this so that you stay alive, because we don't know your medical status. You may not even know your medical status. So we are going to force you to put this thing in front of your face so that you can live to see your grandkids. Please bear with us for 4 to 6 weeks or 8 weeks, whatever the fuck it is. Put a piece of cloth in front of your fucking face. The government has absolutely nothing to do with that. And I understand where you're coming from, where, you give them an inch, they take a mile. I get that. But this has nothing to do with give them an inch, take a mile, because it's for our own safety. It's not for the government's gain. They are gaining nothing by us putting this in front of our face, except for that they get further taxpayers down the line, because we're all still alive. The less of us that survive from this thing, the less of us pay taxes. It is in their general interest and in our general interest to keep our lives, and in their general interest to keep their taxpayers alive. So it is not a government, it's not a political thing. It's, you are going to get your fucking neighbor sick. And these people that are going outside not wearing masks and then coughing all over people should be dragged out into the streets and executed as terrorists. I 100% stand by what I just said.
Hold on, I'm looking up, because I heard something.
You don't know if that person that you're coughing on is immunocompromised. You may have just killed a person.
Hang on.
I'm also a person who believes in an eye for an eye. You kill my son, I'll murder your wife. I'm all for it.
See, okay, so that's I was gonna look up the exact death rates, but okay, so that's something that so see, the problem here is
we've lost over 150,000 Americans.
I understand that, but let's see. Yeah, I think I'm trying to find an exact number, but of course a lot of places have been cooking the books to make it look worse than it actually is, and then some places are underreporting, and it's like, what the fuck? Yeah. I heard something to the effect of there was like a 97.4% survival rate. Like even in New York City, which was hit like the hardest in this country, they're doing much better than it's made out to be.
Yeah, well, that's a survival rate. Did you look up what happens after you recover from the virus? Because it does vary. It does, but it's not always 100%. Roses and daisies.
No, yeah, no, for sure. I wouldn't doubt that for a second.
There's some people that actually recover from it fully and then die from complications that the disease caused.
Yeah, so I don't know exactly. Again, it's hard to pin down, so I'm not gonna make anything, any kind of definitive statement on that. I get very wary of really any kind of authoritarian thinking. I guess if you want to say I have a thing about it. I guess is one way to put it. It's just I get very concerned. Because again, and this kind of actually does go back to a lot of the concerns that people have about, being forced to wear masks. Like, ask nicely, yeah, sure, no problem. Force it, we kind of have a problem, right? So I agree with that mindset. I agree that it's, hey, look, I'm happy to do what you ask me to do, but don't force it on me. Now, and I think where a lot more people who object to the masks are coming from is, look at the hypocrisy and inconsistency coming from the supposed professionals. So, like, for instance, you had medical professionals out there saying it's okay to have these massive gatherings when you're supposed, even though we said you should be social distancing 6 feet apart, yada, yada, yada.
I've heard contention over the masks, and then I've heard the reason that there was contention over the mask was because Fauci lied over it to try to keep medical professionals safe.
What they were saying was basically, and I'm not saying that they specifically said, oh, it's okay to sweat and bleed and cough on people, but what I'm saying is that's kind of like an understood thing that's going to happen in these gatherings, especially when there's riots going on. And so for them to say, because racism is such an important thing to fight against, it's okay to have these gatherings, even though we're supposed to be 6 feet apart and all this stuff, where it's okay to be packed together like sardines at these protests and in these riots.
Yeah, well, I mean, the riots are not what these
something
people
they
go
can control.
there for.
But
well, no, it's not what
right,
these people go there for.
Right. Well, some of them, but
yeah,
it's
a mixed
assholes.
bag. It's definitely a mixed bag, but you find the fucking unpopped kernels at the bottom.
Right. My point is that basically medical professionals are saying, oh, well, because this is such an important thing, we can ignore the whole social distancing thing and do this. I don't know. That seems a little inconsistent to me. Like,
well, so
people gathering is people gathering. Yes,
but have you? So I understand what the professionals were saying in that specific statement, but that also may be curated to try to, that may be politically driven because of the way that the political left and the political right see not only the virus, but the way that they see racial injustice. It may be a call from the political right to try to thin the herd. And also, if you actually, have you been monitoring the protests? Like, do you have friends that go to protests and
No, I don't know anybody who goes to these things.
I've got a long list of very good friends that constantly, because the only social media I have anymore is Instagram, and they are constantly posting various videos and photos from protests that they are personally at, and they are in these videos and they're in these photos and everything. People are distancing. People are wearing masks. People are wearing 2 and 3 masks at the same time. A lot of people are wearing gloves. People are going around with hand sanitizer spray. They're going around with hand sanitizer pumps and making sure that everybody's okay and safe and hydrated and everything. And I've had a few friends that were actually part of a couple of things that devolved into violence. Because what wound up happening was there is a large crowd holding signs chanting, standing still, and a militarized police force advances on them, fires into the crowd with weapons that are meant to be fired at the ground and ricocheted up towards crowds as crowd control. Deadly weapons, deadly tear gas. In a pandemic, using tear gas by the Geneva Convention is considered biological warfare.
Okay.
Which is against the Geneva Convention, which at that point we basically open our borders up for other countries to invade us and police our police force, which I do not agree with. I don't want that happening. Right. I don't want other countries coming in here on our ground the same way they don't want us over there and doing whatever they will to try to make our citizens safe. We should be able to do that by ourselves. But the point is that I don't want to say firsthand, but technically secondhand experience here, understanding that a lot of these things do not devolve into rioting and violence until rioting and violence is used on the peaceful people involved. So
okay. So yeah, and I'm that's fine. I've never been one to say, oh, it's one or the other. I know that it's a mixed bag. I'm not gonna say it's 50-50, but it is like,
yeah, it definitely varies.
There are genuine, like, never good intentioned riots, and then there are good intentioned protests, and then there's like a gray area.
Yeah, and then there's a militarized force coming in. Oh, fuck, I can't even tell you, dude.
On one level, I mean, I get it, because, like, yes, the riots need to be controlled. The law and order needs to be established. The riots are not acceptable.
But if you're starting a riot by firing into peaceful people...
Right. And that's where I have a problem with the police trying to, initiate law and order. It's like okay, that's... like, law and order is a good idea, but don't do it to the people who are just standing there holding signs.
Because they have a right, a constitutional right.
Exactly. Go to the one now. Like, okay, people shouldn't be blocking traffic and things like that. That's not a good idea. Stand on the fucking sidewalk. Don't be an asshole. But
that falls under peaceful protest. That is protected by the Constitution. But what? So before we continue on that same vein, one thing that I have seen is I don't know if you've been following like videos of the police brutality that's been going on, but Trump basically defended police brutality by saying there's a police brutality problem the other day. Like, somebody said, how do you explain the fact that blacks are being, shot by cops or whatever? He goes, so are whites. More white people are being shot by cops. It's like, oh wow, okay, so there's a police brutality problem, and you basically said that you defended it by saying that there's police brutality on everyone. And you're defending police brutality by saying there's police brutality.
So that's not the interpretation I get out of that, but I get where you're coming from, and I think it was a stupid way for him to respond to it.
He responds to everything stupidly. But my point being is that everyone wants to say, well, not all cops are bad, but when you see 1,500 cops advancing on protesters, and then you see 2 cops pushing over a 75-year-old man, cracking open his skull, you see cops firing a 40-millimeter rubber bullet, which, may I remind anybody listening, a rubber bullet is not made of rubber. A rubber bullet is a steel ball encased in a very thin layer of plastic meant to be fired at asphalt to be ricocheted off the ground into a crowd to cause light bruising. These cops are firing these things directly at people's faces and outright murdering folk. Where are the good cops that stop the cops who are murdering people? Where are those good cops? There are no. There's cops pushing people against buildings, cracking open their skulls and causing permanent brain damage. Those are bad cops. Tell me where the good cops are that are policing their brothers in arms. They aren't there. There is no such thing in that case as a good cop. By the state. It doesn't matter.
Right, yeah, right. Well, that might,
because
a
good cop will lay down arms. A good cop will lay down arms and actually take part in saying, hey, we're going too far. These are the people that we are meant to protect and police, and we are actively assaulting them. Right. That is a good cop. We are not seeing that.
See, in a sense, I would also say that a good cop is also someone who is not actively participating in that. Now, I would, and this is where I would say that morally, yes, they do have a responsibility to step in and say, hey.
Well, they have a lawful responsibility. That's part of the oath that they take. Mm-hmm. It's not just moral at that point. Because of what they do for a job, they sign up legally and lawfully to actually take part in anti-brutality demonstrations.
Right, okay.
It's not just moral at that point. I can't let that go.
Right. And so I would agree that then they should be definitely they should definitely be doing something about it. And I think this gets back to what we were talking about before with. As a matter of fact, it's actually I think I sent you Backwards, that ANCAP metal band.
Yes.
Yeah. One of the lines in, I believe it was Self-Ownership, was when a cop shoots a black man, you focus on the racism, ignoring all the statism. I think that's true. It really is more about an abuse of that state monopoly on violence than it is about any particular petty-ism.
Yeah.
And this also goes to the nonviolent cops not stepping in and stopping the violent cops, because the state won't allow it. They will get in trouble. They will get arrested, probably, right? I mean...
But you know what the funny part about that is? The people making the rules don't have guns.
Yeah. This is the thing, is that the people making the rules may not themselves have guns, but their guns are the police and the military. And this is the issue that I have with the state, is it is a monopoly on force. It's people who are no different than us, who have a badge and a piece of paper that says they're special. And that says that they can do whatever they want with the tools that they're given by the people who hired them. Right.
I didn't agree to be ruled by you.
Exactly.
I did not agree to be policed by you.
And what they do is they lean on, well, you voted, or the majority voted, or it was a weighted average that voted.
Yeah, but you also have to understand, I was put here by force. Right. I was financially oppressed by a system that doesn't want me to leave because they take a portion of my wages every week. Mm-hmm. So I hate when people say, if you don't like it, leave. If I would leave if I fucking could. But right. the people that put me here by force, against my will, I never asked to be born. I never asked to go through any of this shit. But you know what? This state makes me work, makes me give them a vast majority of my weekly earnings, takes advantage of that, and then tells me that the reason that they have sovereignty over me is because I pay those taxes. You put me in a causality loop.
Yep, it's a trap. And so
So I do not agree to be policed by you. And if you come at me with aggression, you can shoot me to death. I will beat your fucking face in if you come at me with aggression. If a cop comes at me with aggression, I will defend my human rights to my death. Your job, your gun, and your badge do not give you sovereignty over me, no matter what the law says. You want to go home to your family? Let me go home to mine. I'm not actively trying to hurt anybody.
Right. And this is because morality is bigger than government, because government is nothing more than average people with badges and paper that say they're more than average people.
They decided on. They said, hey, I get this, and that's just how it's going to be. And anybody else that steps up and says, hey, can I get that? They go, no, because you didn't decide that first.
Yeah, and I love this, and I say that very, very sarcastically, the argument that, taxes are for the common good. Well, that doesn't matter. It's still theft. It's still the initiation of force to take property against the will of the property owner. Your money is your property.
100%.
Even Karl Marx, the fucking economic paste-eating idiot that he was, would recognize that money is property. Otherwise, there's no basis for his entire ideology, his evil ideology.
We definitely disagree there. I don't worship him, but I don't think that he was an idiot, and I don't think that he was evil. I think that
100 million bodies.
I think that he had a few good ideas that could be applied here and there, but I don't think Marxism is something to follow.
Yeah, because every single time you try, it wasn't real socialism, it wasn't real communism, but every single time that there's been a Marxist-inspired ideology that has led to a political movement, it ends in totalitarianism and more bodies. Anyway.
I get where you're coming from, but I do believe that a lot of our capitalist governments could learn quite a few things from things that Marx had to say. I don't think that Marxism in itself is viable or moral whatsoever.
Well, and here's the thing, and actually I actually said something about this yesterday. Our capitalist systems are, and I know how this sounds because it's always it wasn't real socialism. Technically, what we have isn't real capitalism.
No, 100%. We have representative capitalism and representative democracy.
We have crony capitalism, and that's because of the government. And it's funny because even in a pseudo-capitalist system, we're doing better than any even pseudo-socialist system ever in the last 150 years. So, but one thing I said this on Twitter. Corporations are statism, not capitalism. They engage in capitalism, but are a lobbying mechanism for otherwise free market businesses that lets them buy special treatment and power, not a function of capitalism. As a free market capitalist, I'm against corporations. Exactly.
And oh my god, it's such a big piece of it's such a gigantic thing to get into, but
it is. It really is.
And the thing that bugs the fuck out of me about it, and I know that's kind of my catchphrase at this point, but is that we can defend these people. Like, there are people out there that defend the ultra-capitalist side that are leeching off of you. Like, they are the reason. They're the reason. I have friends and family who are forced into poverty, living in like broken down trailers that they had to use squatters' rights to get. And these people will defend like Trump and Jeff Bezos and stuff like that, where it's like, oh, well, you know, they're the ones building the country. I'm like, they're the ones stealing your money, brother. Like the people that you worship in the government and the big corporate capitalists that you worship are the people who are causing your taxes to be so high that you can't actually afford to legally pay for a place. You can't afford power. You can't afford gas and water. They're the reason that you have to go to the YMCA to take a shower. Like, it's not just, oh, well, I have a job that doesn't pay well enough. It's like, you have a normal job. A lot of these people are working construction jobs, and I have 3 or 4 family members that are forced into different variations of that situation that I just described. And
yeah, the cost of living is as high as it is because of the state.
Well, it's also that I don't know if the state has a hand in this, but not only has the minimum wage not increased with the cost of living, but the cost of living has gone up. The cost of living has gone up while taxes have gone up, and the minimum wage and general wages until I think 2009 have stayed pretty stagnant for a while, and then 2009 we had a big jump in general wages because the Obama administration has pushed everything up, recognizing the fact that there was such a discrepancy between these things and trying to rectify it. And then we had people who were on the other side who can't afford everything saying, I don't want McDonald's employees to be making a livable wage because they screwed up my order one time. It's like, they screwed up your order. Does that mean that their children deserve to starve? Do you really think about what you say before you say it? Or are you just applying, class... applying like classist terminology to a situation that you generally don't understand, because a lot of the people that are making these comments have never worked that job. They've never been in the position of the person on the other side. And also, McDonald's employees are not just people who flip burgers. McDonald's employees are managers. McDonald's employees are store owners. They're janitors.
They're running around like chickens with their heads cut off because corporate demands that they be on such a tight schedule.
And then with Amazon, I worked for Amazon for a week and a half back in Washington, and it was a nightmare.
Yeah?
You have 7 seconds to fill an order.
Oh my god.
And if you go over 7 seconds, you have a little tablet in front of you at your workstation. They send you a notification saying you're taking too long. You cannot take bathroom breaks other than your 2 15-minute breaks and your half an hour break during your 10-hour day.
What the fuck?
And if you go 1 minute without doing anything, you get fired. I lasted a week and a half, and I saw 2 people pass out on the floor, and and you can't listen to music or do anything while you work either. You can't talk to your other employees because you're so far apart. You're like 50 to 60 feet apart from each other, and you have to fill orders constantly. If you take 8 or 9 seconds, you get a warning on your tablet saying that you're in danger of losing your job. And at that point, I just said, you know what, fuck you, I'm not doing this, and I walked out.
That's obscene. That is just like unbelievable.
And that's what this is built on, and that's what these people who have never worked in that kind of job are defending.
Yeah, and I work for the
I work for the federal government and I make this much money, so I understand what it's like to struggle.
Bullshit.
No, you don't. I know you don't. You don't get to tell me that working at McDonald's is not a viable job, or that people who work at McDonald's or any of these other low-level, entry-level jobs don't deserve a livable wage. Like, do you understand that if you don't pay them, they will starve to death? And then what happens to 30% of the workers in America? The infrastructure falls. We no longer have a country. Like, there are so many things that literally equal the end of our country that these people are fighting against. Like, we don't want you Indians here. We don't want you Mexicans here. It's like, you realize that 70% of our doctors and engineers are Indian and Mexican? Like, do you understand what happens when you kick them out of the country? We have nothing.
Well, I will, just in the interest of fairness, I will say that most people who are who are involved in the immigration thing, who don't just want open borders, just waltz on in whenever you want, they're fine with people from India and Mexico coming here. They just want people to do it correctly through the proper channels. That's all.
I understand where you're coming from, but the problem is that those proper channels can take up to 30 years to get actual citizenship.
Oh yeah, and I'm not going to sit there and defend that either. I'm obviously, again, I don't like the government.
Yeah,
so
easier ways to gain legitimate citizenship for people, because they want to come here and they want to pay taxes.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't tax them if they're not citizens. So making somebody work for you for 30 years on a green card while they're not paying taxes or paying very few taxes.
Yeah, the system's a clusterfuck.
It doesn't make any sense in the long run for a capitalist economy. And I'm not standing by that, obviously. I'm just saying that I know what drives the capitalist economy. So when they're literally screwing themselves out of money, it doesn't make sense. At that point, it's just a racial issue, because there's a reason that you don't want this particular person in your country.
No,
there's nothing else there, man.
I don't buy it. I don't believe that it's genuinely just we don't like brown people. Like, I don't buy that, because there are so many. A lot of these, again, and I've been listening to a lot of people on YouTube who, they tend to be more conservative.
Well, you have to listen to both sides.
Well, I do.
You've always been well, that's what I'm saying. You've always been very good at taking both sides into account and making obviously a very good argument.
Right, and
with both sides of the information.
Yeah, and I mean, I come from the left. I was a progressive up until 5 years ago, and
tracking it pretty hard.
No, I mean, it's true.
Back in 2015, September 18th, I made the switch to libertarianism, and
pretty close, actually.
I wrote it down. I wrote it down in my calendar.
That's actually pretty close. No, I was big on Bernie up until 2015, 16, and then I went, you know what? No, this actually is not working out for me.
Well, I'm big on Bernie as a temporary fix, because there's a lot of problems that taking a few years and following Bernie's ideology would get us on track to where we need to be, but it's not a permanent solution.
Well, my problem is that he is one of those. Well, I have a few problems, but one of my biggest problems is he's one of those hypocrites who's like, oh, I've done nothing but be a leech in the government my entire life, but I know about economics. I know what's best for everybody. And it's like, yeah, no, you don't. He doesn't know anything about the free market. He doesn't know anything about economics. He's a socialist. I mean, socialist equals I know nothing about economics.
Yeah, I mean, you don't necessarily need to be an expert on anything.
No, but if you
proves that.
Yeah. Again, I'm not a big Trump guy either. I'm kind of like.
Before you continue, let me just defend my point by saying that our president has never given any information in any press conference ever. In 4 years, the only things that have ever come out of his mouth in any press conference that he has ever had, and I've watched 90% of them all the way through.
It's the best. Everybody agrees.
We have the best. Everything's great. We're doing wonderful things. We have very good people. All of our people are doing great things. Over there in that country, we're doing wonderful things. We've sent good people over there. I know these people. What does that tell you?
It's
nothing.
It's all a bunch of shit. I mean,
and I mean, the Obama administration was such a breath of fresh air when it came to that stuff, where they would give you the information that you needed, saying, we have troops down in Syria right now. We've sent 1,800 troops. We are trying to infiltrate blah 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 in the town of blah blah blah, hoping to liberate this many innocents that are there held down by this company, and we are trying to get them to safer ground. It's going to cost the taxpayers this much money. It's going to do this. It's going to do that. And giving actual numbers and information that the people need. Whereas this administration is just, it's the best. We all agree. I don't understand why Twitter has me trending, but nothing good is said about me at any point in time. It's unfair. They're acting against me. Twitter is ruining my entire life. I do not understand why I'm here anymore. I may as well go back to my hotel room and shoot myself in the face. You wouldn't like that, would you? You wouldn't like that very much. What a nasty thing to say to me. Why would you say that, Twitter? Why would Twitter say something so nasty?
No, and it's funny because like a few years ago, I mean, he was right that it was like totally ridiculous the way people were reacting to him, and I still think like even to this day, I am so tired of the constant Trump. It's obnoxious at this point. It's like, stop with the fucking temper tantrums.
I hope your microphone caught that, because you cut out really bad, but I heard the gist of your little line there. I'm loving it.
I think I got it. No, but yeah,
I hope so, because it peaked out on my end.
No, but like, I'm so tired of the whining and the temper tantrums and the petty garbage that gets, it's just nonstop Trump, fuck Trump. It's like, oh, shut up.
Well, if you would shut the fuck up for 10 minutes, I think everybody else would be pretty okay.
I don't know. I mean, like, he can't, I even said...
Did you hear what he did last month? He fucking, he put a press conference, he gathered everybody for a press conference in the middle of a pandemic to talk about nothing for an hour. He didn't make one cogent point the entire time. Not one. And he gathered like 200 people in the middle of a pandemic to listen to him just go, well, what I really think is that sometimes chairs can be blue, but other times, if you spend the right amount of money, a chair can also be brown.
Oh my god.
What the fuck? That is our administration right now. To a T.
Oh my! We've either had clowns or liars. The Obama administration was a bunch of fucking liars. The Trump administration is a bunch of clowns. Bush was a bunch of clowns. Clinton was a bunch of liars. It's like this is another reason why I look at the whole thing and I just go, fuck all of this.
So one thing I need you to do is go on YouTube at some point and look up "Hail to the Chief" by John McCutcheon.
Okay.
It's like a, not a Celtic, but like a country folk song written by John McCutcheon using only, like, all the lyrics are only words from George Bush speeches.
Oh my god. Wait, okay, so let me pull this up right now, actually.
It's fucking hilarious. Hail to the Chief by John McCutcheon.
Hail to the Chief, John...
MC...
Here we go. Yeah.
Our enemies are innovative and resourceful, and so are we. They never stop thinking about new ways to harm our country and our people, and neither do we.
Neither do we.
Well, I was born in West Texas,
I love
pretty
the
near
first thing that
California,
happens is you
far
bust
away
out
from
laughing.
Dad's home in D.C. When I'm talking about myself,
Wait.
they're talking about myself, all of us are talking about me. Now, some may retort to personal attacks, take the high horse, claim the low road. But I am not a revengeful person. No, I simply respond with the sword. When I delivered the state of the budget address, I offered up a question or two. How can a man still put food on his family? Will the toll booth to the middle class become more few? No, it's time to make the pie higher. This idea is sure to resonate. This is no time to be subliminable. No, it's time we must unificate. Because you see, when there's more trade, there's more commerce. And we'll bring this solution to an end. Even if your business is Hispanically owned, whether you speak French or Mexican, we're working for a hopefuler country, no longer vulcanized, where humans and fish
Can you send me the link?
coexist
I can't find it for some reason.
and each act civilized. I think we can agree that the past is over. Still, we're held hostile everywhere. These days, we don't know who they are. But but we certainly know that they're there. No longer inoculated from the mistakes of the past with a foreign-handed foreign policy. We'll keep good relations with Kosovoans and
They never
Grecians.
stop thinking about ways to harm
And
our
avoid
country and our people.
emotionality.
Neither do we.
Now we know that reading is the basics of learning. And learning, well, I forget the rest. But teach a child to read and he or her will pass a literacy test. So I ask you, is our children learning? Will we tolerate failed subsidization? Or will this be where wings finally take dream and not a cufflink of federalization? So if you're tired of the politics of polls and of principles, it's time that you join this campaign. We're looking for women who will serve this country, and never the house will they stay.
What?
With faith as the basics of our belief, where a troop can house its family. We'll find power to power the power of the power plants. No, you best not misunderestimate me.
What?
With every word, every breath, our language dies a slow, sad death. Hail to the chief, let's give him hail. Part Yogi Berra, part Dan Quayle.
And these are all direct quotes. I still think reading is the basics of learning, and learning, well, I forget the rest. See, the thing is that I believe that most of the politicians are evil.
Oh, yeah.
I believe that the state that we've built is completely evil.
Yep.
And when it comes right down to it, concerning American citizens who fall to one side or the other, I think that actual American citizens who are Democrats care about the health and safety and comfort of everyone who lives in our country and works for our country and wants to live in our country, regardless of whether they're legal or illegal. They should be able to obtain legal citizenship under our Constitution the way that they always have been. You know, some countries don't do that, and I get it. But Democrats want that to happen, and they want everybody to be able to survive so that we can all pay taxes. Taxes go back into us, and taxes get used to make our lives easier and better, make our roads more easier to drive on, make our food cheaper, make all this. That's the ideal. And then Republicans have a more, instead of being more community-centric, they are more, I have worked for this, I deserve to keep this, I will maintain that so that other people who have worked the same way that I have will be able to keep the things that they have worked for. I don't want the government sticking their hands into my things because the government didn't put in the elbow grease to build this house.
Mm-hmm.
The government didn't put in the elbow grease to raise my children.
Mm-hmm.
And I get both sides of it.
Yeah.
However, the extremists and the politicians ruin it for everybody. I believe that the right has very good people, and I believe that the left has very good people.
There are good people on both sides.
There are good people on both sides. They're tremendous people. They're people that I've hired. A lot of people I know very well. Tremendous people.
No, I think you're right.
I will eventually one day let you know who I'm talking about, and one day I will say a number. 18 is a number. That is what you people have been asking me for this whole time, is more numbers. 27 is another number that I know. I do also understand a small loan of $1 million.
Yeah, I mean, no, I think you're right about that. Is that there are good people on both sides, and I agree with the sentiment of. Let's put it this way. I agree with what you described the Republican position as being, as a matter of principle, and I agree with the sentiment of what the left is saying, what the Democrats are saying. But
but there should be no overarching thing telling you need to.
Right, there should not be any theft or coercion involved, which is what the Democrats are basing their plan of action on, is theft. And that's where I line up more with the Republicans, is like, no, you don't get to forcefully take my stuff and give it to other people. I am happy to voluntarily give some of my wealth to other people if, but within whatever capacity I individually am comfortable with. And that's property rights. This is mine. I earned it. I got it through voluntary exchange. It is rightfully mine. Nobody else gets to tell me what I'm going to do with this. And that's true. And whether or not it's morally good to cling to your wealth or to, exercise it in a way that is, to share it. Again, it depends.
Well, I also think a good middle ground would be to, basically just tax everybody the way that we're taxing them, but then the people get to have a considered say in where that money goes. If they think in their town they need more municipal maintenance, they can cast votes so that their money, by and large, goes more to fixing the things that are problem in the municipality. Or some people may say, hey, a lot of our buildings need work, or we need to go and revamp this, we need to go put this, or we have a surplus, let's put a new statue up. People should be able to cast a vote for that rather than just saying, hey, we are being taxed and we don't know where it's going to, so whoever is at the State House can just take all that money and put it in their pocket.
Yeah.
I think that's a good compromise between the two.
Well, the problem...
But
Go ahead.
I also don't think that... without taxes, we wouldn't have most of the things that exist in American society today. So, I'm not... I agree that taxation is theft. 100%. But there's got to be a middle ground because we cannot make progress without feeding back into things. But also, a lot of, multimillionaires and multi-billionaires are not paying their full fair share, while the government is coming after people like you and me who, a couple of years ago, if you came after me for $300, I would have been on the street.
Mm.
But the government's refusing to come after people for several $100 million.
Yeah.
And I actually have a story to follow that up before you make a point. Is you remember when I used to work for that contractor doing framing?
Yeah.
He was enormously right-minded, wildly racist. He would call Obama horrible racist names, and without thinking about it, and didn't care who was around him or anything. Would be in meetings with homeowners, and he would just flash around racist terms in front of a homeowner on the first meeting before knowing who they were and what they thought of and what they consider. Yeah, he was a bad man. But he had told me this story about this multi-millionaire who paid 200 and something million in taxes. And he goes, that should be enough, right? And I was like, well, I don't know. And he goes, well, the government had the audacity to come after her for another 110 million. And I was like, well, did she pay her full amount that she owed? And he goes, it shouldn't matter. 200 and something million is so much money. That should be enough. And I went, hey, listen, if they're going to come after me for $300 missing, they got to come after her for 110 million. And he would, horrifyingly just defend the fact that this woman gets to dodge 110 million in owed taxes. $300 isn't going to put a dent in anything. Do you know what you can do with $110 million as a state? Do you know what that tax money coming in could do to better your people? So I know that a lot of people out there, and it's not just him, because that's the only thing that I have an actual story and dialogue to recount. But I've run into a lot of other people that try to defend rich people dodging taxes and not paying their fair share, and then defend the government coming after violently people who cannot afford to pay into the system anymore without going onto the street. My best friend Kevin's mom has been poor her entire life, $10 away from being on the street. And she got very sick one day and had to go to the hospital. And I remember she dropped Kevin off for band practice one day, and she was bawling her absolute eyes out trying to figure out how she was going to make it by, because she knew that she didn't have insurance because she couldn't afford insurance, and the medical bills were going to ruin her. And eventually she figured it out, but that woman had to live in fear for her life because $10 could put her and her 3 children out on the street. Whereas you have these people that are dodging hundreds of millions of dollars in taxes and going out and buying a new gold-plated yacht.
Yeah.
That's not right.
No,
you have to pay your full fair share, because when people that have pay their full fair share, the government doesn't take as much from people who don't have. The discrepancy is there. So not paying when you have the money to pay and it doesn't make an absolute dent in your yearly annual income, especially when you can get by, when you own your house, or like you're still paying on your house but you can afford it, what you pay or don't pay does affect people who cannot pay. So not only is there a legal obligation there to pay what you owe when we live in a tax state like this, there's a moral obligation where, you know, somebody who works for you, somebody who has helped you build your wealth, may die because you don't want to pay your fair share, but you're forcing the government to steal from them.
Yeah. Well, and to kind of to double back for a second to what you were saying about how we wouldn't have a lot of the things or the progress that we have in society without taxes, I think that we absolutely would, because those things are based on incentives. Like, do we want these things, right? We can do all of the things that we want to do voluntarily. We don't need to have our money stolen and trust that the thieves are going to use it properly in order to, say, have infrastructure. Private companies could do just as good, if not better of a job, more efficiently, and potentially even for less money. But
do you have an example where a private company has done that without the incentive of the government forcing it firsthand?
The problem is we don't really have any examples of privately funded infrastructure projects because the government has a monopoly on it. You're not allowed to. So the government has created an artificial monopoly. They have it set up to where nobody can compete with them.
Yeah.
And so we don't, like the libertarians, the anarcho-capitalists, we can't actually point to anything and say this. Well, because everything that we do is under the umbrella of the state. Because there is no.
So technically, your standpoint is unsubstantiated because there is no actual. I'm talking purely like ambiguously. I'm not trying to discredit you or your viewpoint or anything, but there is no American example of your standpoint being successful. You just have the viewpoint that you have because logically that should work, but people are
empirically too.
General, by and large. Yes, but people, American people specifically, are by and large not logically brained.
To an extent.
Yeah, I mean, the people that think the way that you do are maybe 4% of the intellectual population, which may be something like 30% of the actual population. So you have a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of people who understand things the way that you do, where your viewpoint may work when enacted properly, but you've got 97% of Americans who are more emotionally brained and will act on impulse rather than trying to think things through the way that you do. So
it's tough.
It's definitely tough, but there's no substantiated claims that you can back your viewpoint up by.
Well, which
sucks.
Yeah, it is. It does suck because, and it's also. I mean, again, obviously, you recognize it's not our fault because, like I said, the government has this monopoly that, like, what can we do about it?
Yes.
So
of course,
it's not like we can just go out there and start working on the roads with private companies because the government will arrest those people, and it's like, so. But this is the thing, like theoretically, right? And unfortunately, this is all we have is theoretical. But in principle, right? So property rights, absolute property rights. You own what you own as long as you've got it due to voluntary exchange it's yours and only yours.
Yeah.
Nobody can tell you under any circumstances what to do with that except for you. And that, you know, that extends to your money. So, like, technically speaking, and we were talking about this yesterday, these billionaires, they have the right to withhold as much money as they want to. It is their, like, again, taking the whole taxation out of it, you know, right? Just as a matter of property rights. That money is theirs. And, you know, it is, as long as it's under their ownership, it's under their discretion what gets done with it. And to take that away from them forcibly, even for a morally good cause, would be theft, which would be immoral itself.
So to that theft point, one thing that I do not think is theft is forcing these people to make sure that everybody who has contributed to their success is paid a livable wage. I do not consider that theft one bit.
If you do that through market forces by refusing to give them money until they comply with what you want, yeah, then that's fine.
Well, what I'm saying is that it should be that, hey, if you are going to make several dozens of billions of dollars, the people who work for you, every single employee of yours, should be well above poverty level. But to the point where it is statistically proven that in Massachusetts, you need to work 70 hours at minimum wage to afford a one-bedroom apartment. 70 hours a week, which is almost double the actual, like, maximum standard work week.
Yeah, that's obscene.
It's obscene. So
we're actually considering going out to North Carolina just because the cost of living is so much less down there.
100%. Yeah, I have a lot of experience with North Carolina as well. But and that maybe, you know me, so that may be a morbid thing to say,
yeah.
But,
yeah. I didn't even think of that. I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
But it, like, when you make money off of paying people a little bit more than half of what it takes to actually survive for one person, not even a family, not even a couple of people, for one person, you are making money by paying people just a little bit over half of what it takes to survive normally and have a healthy lifestyle, and expect them to put out work in the way that I have just told you about. There should be a forceful law against that. If we're going to live in a situation where we have laws, there should be a forceful law against that. Because, you know, Jeff Bezos can have $164 billion. He has the right to have that, but he should not have the right to have that based on the poverty of hundreds of thousands of people below him. If those people earn your money currently, if those people run your company by filling orders and sending deliveries and picking stock and all that stuff, none of those people should ever have to worry about having a job, paying rent, doing all this stuff. If you are going to make hundreds of billions of dollars off of the backs of other people, especially those people should be, you have the money to pay them.
Yeah, especially with the risk that they take. From what you described, like 7 seconds, like I could
7 seconds, no bathroom breaks.
I couldn't even type a number into a bidding box on an eBay auction in 7 seconds, like that,
and no water breaks.
That's obscene. And so
you can't sip water.
That's retarded. And so this is the thing, is that I completely morally agree with that should not be happening. Absolutely not. It is dead fucking wrong for a business owner to treat their workers that way. One thing I will say though is that, just again, because I try to separate from laws and principles, because if we're gonna have a system where there's a state and they make laws, and okay, yeah, then fine.
They should follow moral law.
Right, and this is what I'm getting at. Okay, is that morality is bigger than people.
Well, morality is based on people. If you don't have people, you don't have morals.
Right, but there are universal moral principles that apply to everyone at all times.
But if your laws supersede universal morals, you run out of people and you have nobody to morally rule.
I'm not quite sure I follow.
That's the basis of every... If you don't follow actual morality by saying, hey, you know, if I don't pay these people, they starve to death, then my company goes under because there's nobody to work for me anymore.
Yeah.
You don't make money.
Right.
So our laws should be based around that fact. Like, if you treat your workers right, they want to come into work. They will put in the hours, they will put in the time, they will bust their asses for you. But if you force them to bust their ass for far less than half of what they should be being paid, because just paying rent is not enough. So being paid just a little over half of what your rent costs is not nearly enough. Being paid what your rent costs is not nearly enough because you have a car, you have food, you have healthcare, all this sort of stuff. You need to be paid like 3 times what your rent costs because of everything that we have currently. We're not gonna make it so that there are no actual laws forcing us to do things. That's never going to be a thing in America just because of the way that we have everything set up. It's always going to be laws that supersede morality. Anarchism, unfortunately, is not going to be a thing for several thousand years in America because we're just never going to degrade to that point where we have anybody willing to give up their power at the time.
Well, okay.
And we're not going to have citizens who are willing to fight for their lives against this because we're too fucking soft.
Well, okay, so
nobody wants to put their life on the line to fight for what is actually correct.
Well, so
everybody wants to sit behind a fucking phone.
Yeah, so and this actually kind of ties back to what we started with, but also to kind of keep this on track. So if we're going to have a system where it's in a statist society, because my position of compromise, because obviously I recognize that I am in a statist system, I can't do anything about that. I have to go along to get along so that I'm not put in a gulag. So my principled position is anarcho-capitalism. My compromise position, to where it's like, yeah, there's nothing I can do to get out of this, state trap, is
Rastafarianism.
is Pastafarianism. Be touched by his noodly appendage.
Be touched by his noodly appendage, man.
No, but it's classical liberalism, right? So like the libertarian kind of very, very soft, like. I took the political compass again recently, and I am like just barely to the left of the dead center line. So, and I actually think it put me a little bit too far up in the like I'm in the libertarian, like I'm in the bottom 2 squares. I'm like halfway between the top and bottom of the bottom 2 squares.
Yeah, it's classic liberalism. Otherwise, very soft hands. Very soft hands.
Very soft hands. Yes. Lots of lotion. Hemp, lots of hemp lotion, legalized marijuana,
You should understand that sunflowers make very good oils.
Anyway, so...
they actually call me Cedar McPine.
Anyway, so... No, but what I'm getting at is, like, so if we're gonna have a statist society, then yeah, I would say that maybe we can have some laws that have, like, minimum working conditions requirements, right?
Yeah, because we're never gonna get rid of laws.
Right. Yeah. Right. And I agree that, like, even in an anarchist society, again, rules without rulers. So we would have laws, but they wouldn't be enforced at the point of a gun, like the way they are now. It would be more, these are universal things that apply to everyone. But like not just because we say so, but because logically they apply to everyone. So like for instance,
I mean it's at that position currently, but the only reason that things don't fall apart is because the government keeps borrowing money to bail out the people who can afford to do things that don't want to do those things with their money.
It's so bad. It's going to get to a point where the future generations are just going to go, no, we're not paying this.
We're $274 trillion in global debt. Who the fuck do we owe?
Exactly, it's insane.
We borrow against inflation.
And who's fucking responsible for inflation? The government. Government prints more money, and who feels the effects of it? The people at the bottom. It's.
I don't know if you know this, but the dollar in 2020 has deflated so much it is worth 28% less than it was at the end of 2019.
That's crazy.
Our money is literally spiraling down to the Korean won.
Invest in Bitcoin.
Oh god, if I had the fucking money.
Yeah, I've got like 70% of one whole one, and I'm just kind of sitting on it because I can't afford the electricity to mine. So I'm like,
well, so I don't know how that works. Can you keep like can you hold on to your 70% and then keep putting money into it to earn more of one whole coin?
Yep, I could go on an
So
exchange right
you
now.
can go and throw $500 into it, and then you'll have like 75%.
I'll have however much $500 will buy, and then that I'll just sit on that, and then that'll increase in value as Bitcoin becomes more difficult to come by. So like, and then whenever I want to cash out,
It's so fucking wild that somebody just designed a currency system and said, "Hey, this is value."
Yeah.
And then people just free fucking money.
Yeah, well, because the concept of value is arbitrary. Like, I just paid $100 for the Alduin statue that came with the Skyrim Collector's Edition, which I think the Skyrim Collector's Edition was like maybe $100-$200 on its own when it came out.
It was 155,
something like that. Yeah. So like, I never got it when the game came out because I wasn't an Elder Scrolls fan at the time.
I was literally sitting there for 18 hours the day that it came out. I was there the second that the store opened. I skipped school. We were in the same classes. I skipped class that day, and sat there.
Well, that was November of 2011. I wasn't actually in college yet. I was in high school.
No,
still.
but I'm saying that's what I'm saying is like we went to the same classes and everything. So like it was around that same time that I skipped school, sat down at GameStop because one of my cousin's old friends worked there. I sat there for 18 hours.
Oh my god.
Until the game actually dropped at midnight.
Oh my god.
And I waited. So I know the price of the Skyrim Bible. I know the price down to the cent. It was $63.74 for a copy of the game. Because you know how many people I saw come in and pre-order the game that day?
Yeah, true.
I was the first one in line. You know how many people were fucking behind me?
Yeah. No, yeah. So, but yeah, like, and obviously, you know, Skyrim is like one of my favorite games now. But yeah, no. So I recently, so like, value is kind of arbitrary, right? So it's whatever people are.
But to basically say like, so I could literally just take these chopsticks in front of me and go, hey, if you want to purchase these chopsticks, I value these at $120 million per piece.
And if some whack job...
It's basically what Bitcoin did was, hey, I have a computer program. You're going to do this computer program, and you're going to get $10,000 for it. Out of nowhere. Because I said so.
Well, because it's an asset that is basically, like, it's intended to have value, right? As, like...
But it doesn't mean anything to anybody.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, and this is why people kind of try to argue against Bitcoin. Oh, there's nothing behind it, but it's like... Well, there's nothing behind the dollar
there isn't anything behind it.
No, and it's like, but there's nothing behind the dollar either, other than just the United States says it's worth this much, and it's like...
No, that's not true. The thing that is currently holding the dollar at its value is the debt of the American citizens. Since we transferred from the gold standard, the worth of gold to the dollar, we transferred to a different system that weighs on the debt of the American citizens. So the amount of debt that the collective nation is in determines the value of the dollar. So it's not completely arbitrary, but it's fucking dumb.
That's a terrible idea. So yeah, but Bitcoin is basically like a digital gold standard. In a sense, it's like, hey, here's a resource that's going to, you know, it's finite, and if you want it, because it's intended to be like a currency, you know, the more people have it, the more difficult it is to come by, the more the price goes up. So, anyway, but basically, like...
But that doesn't make any sense, because technically it's an infinite resource.
No, it's not, actually.
Because even... Well, no, hear me out, because I know there's a limited amount of them, but they're constantly exchanging hands. Which means that it's an unlimited resource. Because no one's sitting on it forever. There's always going to be people that are selling the bitcoins.
Well, for instance, I don't think you've ever heard... Have you ever heard of the 10,000 Bitcoin pizza?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, so some guy...
Which equaled $20.
In 2009, or 2009 or 2010,
bought a Domino's pizza with 10,000 bitcoins.
Uh-huh. And...
Because that was valued at $20 at the time.
Yep. And so now, imagine...
Now it's over 100 million.
It's fucking insane. But this is the point, right? So those 10,000 bitcoins, like, they're on a hard drive in a landfill somewhere. Like, nobody knows where they are. Nobody's ever going to find them again. So they are out of the block. They're in that wallet, and they're just gone. So
Well, that's not true because they were sold to somebody, so somebody owns them. They're never gone.
well, what I'm getting at is that nobody has the ability to use them because they're just like the computer that they're on is probably just gone.
But you don't know that.
Well, we don't know, but it's going to happen. There are computers like it has happened.
But, well, it's tied. It's never on a hard drive. It's tied to a digital wallet.
Right, but the wallet, like for instance,
it's not on a hard drive. It's a cloud product.
Not necessarily. So like I have I keep mine in cold storage. I've got a thumb drive that has my Electrum wallet on it. And so I keep my Bitcoin.
Sorry you wasted money on that.
What?
I'm sorry you wasted money on Electrum.
No. I don't have any Electrum coins.
Oh, okay. You just have your wallet.
Yeah, the wallet. The program is called Electrum. That's my wallet.
I was gonna say I thought you also invested in the Electrum coin.
No. No, I did mine some Vertcoin, which was doing well at the end of 2017, and then just kind of dropped off the face of the earth.
Don't ever get an ECA coin.
Anyway, so yeah, but like I've got like 70% of a Bitcoin, and it's on a thumb drive. So if I ever lose that thumb drive, gone. So like because I can't access my wallet from online because the wallet is not online. You know what I'm saying? So if you're using an
I mean, you obviously have firsthand knowledge of that, and that wasn't how it was explained to me, and I don't have firsthand knowledge.
Okay, yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. So, but yeah, that's the basics of Bitcoin. And actually, what's nice is I actually debunked somebody. It was kind of funny. Somebody was talking about how Stefan Molyneux he's e-begging, even though he's a millionaire because he's got multi-millions in Bitcoin, and it's like you can actually look at his Bitcoin address on the blockchain, and you can see what he's been taking in, what his current balance is, and what he's been sending out. And he's gotten like 12 million total in Bitcoin donations, but he's sent like 11 point something million. So, like he pays people almost as much as he gets paid. So he's only sitting on like 30 grand worth of Bitcoin right now, which is like 87 grand Canadian.
And that's another thing that bugs me about the there should be no billionaires thing. It's like you don't realize like people think of net worth as in like money in the pocket, but nobody actually actively looks up what like Jeff Bezos takes home salary wise.
Yeah,
which is a little over $81,000 a year.
Yeah,
like I mean, yeah, he can cash out his stocks at any point in time to gain a massive amount of money, which is a great thing to be able to do, but he doesn't have $168 billion in his bank account.
Actually,
what?
No, I was going to say if you don't mind, I was actually going to say because like for anybody who might not be familiar with how the capitalism thing works, I was gonna
yeah, it's definitely a good thing to go over.
Yeah, so basically, okay. Now, and I actually run a business, so I have firsthand experience with this. Now, I haven't hired anybody. 'Cause I haven't done enough business volume to actually like be in need of hiring anybody.
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, we both do run our own businesses. Well, yeah. I have a full-time job, but I run a business on the side, and Nick runs a business for his main income.
Yeah. So I basically I've never hired anybody, but basically, so the way this works is running a business. You have capital outlay. And part of that capital outlay, which I always get into this, like the socialists don't seem to understand this, that the pay of the workers is part of your capital outlay. So if you put out $100 million to run your business, which is like, buying infrastructure and paying workers and all that kind of stuff and keeping the lights on.
It's all the overhead.
Right. That's everything that you have to spend to have your business functioning is your capital outlay. If that's $100 million, however much you need to pay your workers is included in that $100 million.
Yes.
And the worker's salary is negotiated by either the workers directly or a union or something like that. And
yeah. Or management speaking with them at the time of the interview.
Right, exactly. It's not right. So that's like they're personally negotiating at that point. So it's not that it's just arbitrarily, I will pay you some pocket lint and a peanut to work for me because I'm the fat monocled capitalist. No, that's not how it works.
No, but it's also like we don't teach people how to negotiate
right, that's part
salaries.
of it.
So a lot of people will go into a job and say, hey, first off, I just need fucking money right now. I need to not be kicked out of my apartment.
Right.
I will accept whatever is going on.
Right, and so that's a problem. But that's personal responsibility on the part of the people looking for employment, and it's also moral responsibility on the part of the employer. Right.
Yes.
So, but what the socialists tend to get mad about is, look how much this guy is making in profit. He's stealing that from his workers. No, he's not. That's his return on investment. He puts out $100 million. Right, he puts out
for the overlay.
Right, he puts out $100 million. If his business makes $130 million, that $30 million is his profit after the workers have been compensated. Because again,
all his bills have been paid.
Right. So that 30. I'm just talking about like in a vacuum. The business exists in a vacuum. His bills are separate. So like what he takes in.
I'm saying bills as an overhead, like cost of warehouse leasing. Cost of the lease.
Yeah, so all that stuff that's included in the $100 million.
Yes, or the loan on any machinery that you have,
right.
Stuff like that to keep the business running.
Right, exactly. So all that stuff that's included in that $100 million, if he makes $130 million from his business that he paid $100 million to sustain, that $30 million is his profit that he's entitled to for taking the risk in putting that $100 million out in the first place.
Yes, but while we're getting right down to it, net worth does not have anything to do with that. Net worth
that's
is
separate.
What you personally... So when we're talking about people like Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, and all the other million and billionaires in the world, when you calculate net worth, like where Jeff Bezos is worth nearly $170 billion, that doesn't mean that he has that in his account. It means that through his stocks, his personal company ownings, the vehicles that he has, the house that he has, any houses that he has, his spouse, anything that she owns, because technically they are a specific legal entity together. So anything that she owns separately is considered his net worth, and all of these various things. It's not in his bank account. It's the value of everything he has ever purchased, even on loans. Because even if he purchases like a $300,000 Rolls Royce and he's only put $30,000 into the loan so far, it's still valued at $300,000.
Right.
So that feeds into his net worth. People don't understand that he doesn't have $168 billion, $170 billion to just shell out of his pocket. Now, the morally correct person in a global pinch would cash that out, because the market has no other option but to give you that money digitally. So let's say we're in a pinch where the only thing that can happen to save the American people or the global people is Jeff Bezos just says, hey, you know what, I'll start over again. Let me cash out right now, fix the problem, and I'll gain my money again from the very beginning. Right,
morally he should do that. He can say no to that, and he's entitled to say no to that, but he should. But
he has the ability to cash out everything right now and fix probably 80% of the problems on the planet and then start over from the beginning, because he's never going to stop earning money. I mean, he earns about $100,000 a minute.
Yeah.
But my point is that it's more of a process than people understand, because he doesn't just have $170 billion in his wallet. He has to choose to cash that out, weighing his ability to gain more money against the money that he has and the good that he can do with that money right now. He's got a big choice to make, and it's also the moral and just paradox of thinking, well, do I set my family up for the foreseeable future in every possible generation down the line and give them more money than they could ever fucking spend in their dreams? Or do I equalize the world? Because let's say that Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates and Warren Buffett, instead of saying that they're going to give all their money to charity at the end of their life. Because basically what doing that is saying is, I don't fucking care who exists right now. I mean, Bill Gates is doing some wonderful charity work. Bill and Melinda are like the highlight of billionaires because they spend quite a bit of their money on research and development for nations and people who do not have certain technologies or access to certain technologies or certain materials to make those technologies.
Yeah.
They do great things with the money that they do invest.
Yeah, I have some separate ethical concerns about them, but yeah, that's all good stuff.
But Bill Gates and Warren Buffett, and I think Mark Zuckerberg have all signed a paper basically saying that when they pass away, all of their wealth will be donated to various charities. Doing that is basically saying, well, while I'm alive, fuck everybody else who's alive at the same time as me.
Yeah, which I mean, which like we've said, I mean, they do have the right to do that. That is their property.
But it's fucking despicable.
It's gross. Yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah,
because you're going to be taking care of the people who, but by donating after you die, you're going to be taking care of the people who come after you die. But by donating everything right now and fixing the problems in the world right now, you will be assuring the fact that everybody who is alive while you are alive gets taken care of, and the world is in a place where the people who are alive while you are dead are never put into the position where they need your money.
Yeah, exactly. There's something to be said for philanthropy in the moment. And
exactly. And my point here is that do you choose to, like, as a billionaire, do you choose to set up your family for the foreseeable future and maintain a monopoly on things? Which you, in the business sense, even if you cash out all your stocks, you have a monopoly still. You're still going to build up the same amount of wealth in the next 10 years that you have right now. So cashing out right now is kind of arbitrary, so it should be morally correct to do so. Or do you cash out right now, fix all of these problems, and ensure that in your lifetime, you don't see anyone on the planet struggling anymore? Because between the four of these men, Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, and Jeff Bezos, the money between the four of these men could fix almost every moral problem on the planet.
What do you... Are you using moral, like, kind of arbitrarily there?
I'm saying moral as in like financial inequality, or like they could fix world hunger, they could fix the homelessness problem. But I mean, obviously the homelessness problem is down to like local ordinances, where in LA there's like 1.2 million homeless people and something like 2.7 million empty houses.
Mm-hmm.
So that's down to assigning people to houses that could be in there. So there's more houses than homeless people in LA.
There needs to be a massive market correction in LA. It's obscene how expensive things are down there.
Oh, and in New York and everything. But my point is that like in every instance where money is the issue between these four men, those issues would be completely eradicated by their donations. They would be the new Mount Rushmore. They would be the four historical heroes that nobody would ever fucking forget because of they. So yes, like we have Mount Rushmore, we have four great men who have done, obviously that have done bad things in their life, but the good things that they've done have pushed forward on a global scale the evolution of humanity politically and financially 100%. But if we have these four men that I just mentioned who are all US citizens at this time, if they put their money together, they could literally eradicate the financial problems of the globe.
A good portion of it, at least, yeah.
I wish that I had the article that I had read on hand currently, but statistically and mathematically, there would be no financial trouble whatsoever on a person-to-person basis
Yeah, then it's just a question of like, oh, okay, we set you up by with our donations. Now it's up to you to maintain it and keep yourself out of poverty.
It's basically, at that point, we level the playing ground, and at that point, everything is down to personal responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
However, we also have to equalize the way that governments treat people. We also have to equalize the way that employers look for folk, and the way that employers treat people as well. But it is what they could do with their money would put everybody on a financial level playing field. So there's nobody sitting there saying, I have to turn to crime because that's all I know anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
It at that point, they give you the decision. They don't
Mm-hmm.
give your situation the decision. They would be the 4 greatest men the planet has ever seen at that point.
And I think that's fine. I would be perfectly fine, and as long as it's voluntary. That's my biggest I think that's like the really only sticking point that I have when it comes to, because emotionally.
Yeah, because you can't force them.
Right, exactly. Then it's theft. Then and if you try to like use the government to like hyper tax the shit out of them so that the government takes all their money and then redistributes it like the socialists would want, that's just morally repugnant. I mean, that's theft.
Yeah. But I will fucking shame these people every day.
Oh, totally. Oh, totally. I mean, that's just gross. I mean, like, you have 7 seconds or you're fired. Go fuck yourself.
I mean, that's something that I have firsthand experience with. I'm not speaking out of pocket there.
Yeah.
But the thing that gets me the most about this Hello catchphrase is that every day they wake up and they make the active choice not to do that.
Yeah. And so that's definitely a moral question.
And several of these people are in contact with each other to make the agreement that upon their death, they're not going to keep their family lineage going, but they are going to donate all of their net worth to charity.
If you really care, do it now.
Yeah, because then at the time of your death, no one would need your charity.
Yeah.
Because everyone would already be set up. But you're basically saying, I don't want anybody to be okay until I'm dead, and then once I'm dead, obviously I don't care because I can't make the decisions anymore, so do whatever the hell you want with what I've earned in my lifetime. But until then, mine!
Yeah. Yeah,
So for Gates, I don't think that he is particularly selfish in that endeavor because of the research and development he's put into certain projects in his lifetime. I think his drive to sign that treaty or whatever you want to call it is more of, I can choose to cash out at any time any amount that I want, so that during any of my humanitarian endeavors I have the funds available to comply with current science. Because the way that he is using like his money to research, develop, and fund toilets for certain types of third world countries, if he just cashed out right now, that wouldn't have the funding that it would have, and it wouldn't have the medical impact on these countries that it would have.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes me second guess, obviously, my standpoint on things. So, like, yeah, it would be fucking wonderful if they all cashed out and just sent everybody a bunch of money and said, hey, you're all on your own right now. Like, yeah, we would get the option to work with that or not work with it. But as it stands, he is the only person in that group that tells me, hey, I'm doing something positive with the absurd amount of money that I have. I'm trying to keep it on reserve in case we have a breakthrough that needs several $1 billion of funding at one time. That makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't hear about Warren Buffett making those research claims.
Right.
So, you know, Bill Gates, I understand wanting to keep his money on hand, but, you know, Buffett, Zuckerberg, especially Zuckerberg is oh god, Zuckerberg should be fucking
Oh my god! That went south so fast!
He is, man, listen to me for a second. You obviously, That's a big claim.
It's hyperbole.
Yes, but the man is human sweat.
Oh, he's gross. Yeah, he's nasty. I don't even like looking at him.
Oh my god, the things that he tries to get away with and the things that he tries to justify to the government, like when they say, hey, you can't spy on American citizens because that's wrong, he goes, well, Congresswoman, I think it's correct because, well, I don't really know why it's correct, but I have billions of dollars, so,
Yeah, he's nasty.
He's a and people like that, where you are actively putting American citizens at risk, get the fuck away from me. That's
why I stopped using Microsoft products. Like I still have my Windows 7 machine right here, just 'cause I like Windows 7. But I mean, Windows 10 can fucking eat my ass. Like I have no interest in ever using it. So like once Windows 7 I can't use it anymore. I'm going full Linux and that's it. Like
yeah, but when I say such things in hyperbole, I mean that you have done so much to put your family and your community at such an extreme risk. It would do the human race better to be without you than be with you and your money. Please leave, and if you don't leave, I really do hope within my lifetime somebody makes you leave.
Well, obviously I get very ill about any kind of, violence, but I mean, I get the sentiment. I get how you feel.
My thing is that I will never, ever in my lifetime try to appeal to a system that is not listening to me to fix a problem that I am unsatisfied with. Like the police brutality thing, like, we are actively telling them, hey, we don't want you to kill us. We want you to use justice to arrest us and give us tickets and stuff, but killing us should not be an option. And they go, well, may as well just kill you.
Yeah.
Trying to appeal to that system is useless. I will never, ever try to peacefully appeal to a system using deadly violence against me. Oh, dude. Also, I went into Target earlier because my charging cable for my phone broke because I spent the last 3 weeks literally sitting in bed charging and uncharging my phone and everything. So I've been having my phone like up against my stomach with the charging cable in, which puts it at like a 90-degree angle, and the wires inside frayed. So I went to go buy a new one today, and I accidentally bought a micro USB instead of a Type-C.
Oh.
And I accidentally bought a 4-foot cord instead of a 6-foot cord.
Oh.
So I went back to Target and I went to go return it. And unfortunately, the woman who was working at the customer service desk had her name tag on. And it said, "Hello, my name is Brooke. I am vocally impaired." And I was like, wow. Hello, Brooke. My name is Shane, and I am hearing impaired. This is not a good matchup.
Oh, God.
But what wound up happening was when I first... Like, I buy the high-quality cords because they last for a long time.
Yeah.
And I rung up for $21 and something cents, so I thought, like, hey, yeah, that's kind of the normal price for a high-quality cord. Come to find out, what I didn't know was that my item rung up twice.
Oh.
So when Brooke gave me my refund, I got like $9.60 back, and then I walked away from the customer service desk and I was like, wait a minute. She gave me my refund ticket back, and she gave my original receipt back, and it said $9.60 something cents compared to 21 something. And I was like, wait, hold on. And then I got back in line, and another guy was like, hey, can I help you? And I was like, yeah, these numbers don't line up. And he goes, oh, well, it looks like you bought 2 of them. And I went, well, I was here about 10 minutes ago, and the guy who basically, like, when I rung it up, it beeped twice, and the attendant at the self-checkout came over, put in a number, and said, hey, I'll delete that second one for you. And then said he deleted the second one for me. And that guy's still standing over there. And I was here 10 minutes ago, so we can, if there's a discrepancy that like you as an employee can't handle, we can grab him over and he can kind of explain what happened. Hopefully he remembers, because it was 10 minutes ago, and he goes, oh no, don't worry about it, man, I'll just take it off. I was like, you know what, I appreciate you.
Nice.
I'm sure that it was my attitude and approaching you that caused you to kind of give me some slack, but you know, I'm not gonna throw a fit over $10, and anybody that does should have the wrath of the corporation fall on them. But also, a corporation shouldn't raise a stink over $10. So
Exactly. And also, I think the reason we should keep that in is because it's a very salient point about the kind of stuff I'm talking about in like a voluntarist system where ethics makes a world of difference. How you treat people. Like, most people will just probably behave pretty nicely just like that, unless they're, you know, given a reason not to, right?
yeah.
So, and this actually kind of goes back to something I said the other day. I said this on Twitter. Let's see. If promises and paper are enough to keep the world-ending monopoly on violence of the government in check, then they are absolutely more than enough to trust individuals with infinitely less power and destructive capacity to handle themselves.
In other words, or if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, would all have a Merry Christmas.
One way to put it.
I just thought of that, like, as you were talking. I'm like, okay, this fits.
Yeah, it's like, no, I mean, like, if you think about it, like, basically, what do we have except for we promise not to abuse our power because it says so on this piece of paper that we can't, keeping the government
Except for the fact that we're gonna do it on a daily basis.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this is my point, is that, like, they might, like, inch their way forward into abusing their power and gaining more power to abuse instead of doing it in, like, a violent coup like you would see in, like, something like, you know, a communist dictatorship. But
God damn it. But, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
But, yeah, so, and all this kind of goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning, actually, with, you know, the violence of the state, how it's not even so much a matter of racism as it is statism. This is the natural result of that kind of monopoly on violence.
Yeah.
And this is why I think the only way to really curb the issue is to privatize, is to have the market in control. Because basically, if you have, like I was saying before, if you have a private security organization, they have an economic incentive. Not only will they go out of business just naturally because people don't want to do business with them if they abuse their power, if they don't have the highest standards of behavior and, you know, the best training, but also they'll be so far in debt from paying off insurance claims as part of those contracts that they would fold. They would go bankrupt. That's the kind of incentive you need in order to control a police force, basically. Someone who has guns, if they misuse them, it's at their own peril. Because you could also hire another police force to police the police. And so, you know...
And then you hire a police force to police them, too. It's... Like, yes, privatizing is definitely an option. It's a good option. However, it kind of overturns the system that we have right now, and it would take years to enact and perfect and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Rather than just actually sitting down and saying, hey, there's rules that people aren't following. Maybe we should, you know, make them follow those rules.
Oh, yeah,
or
yeah.
their job depends on it. It would be so much easier to just say, hey, don't break the rules, bitch.
Yeah, the problem is then again you have to basically just trust that the monopoly on violence will actually comply with what they say they're supposed to do.
Well, then fucking fire them.
This is my
Put them in jail.
and now we're back to the free market, because you can't do that with the state, because the state has complete control over the police, and are they really going to do much with it?
Well, that's my point, though, is, like, it would be so much, instead of overhauling the entire thing, it would be so much easier to actually sit there and say, hey, we have rules that are enforced that the police are not following when they do their policing. We should tell them to follow those rules, and if they don't follow those rules, they lose their job. It's so much more easy, and it's such a more it saves so much more money just by telling them, hey, we're not going to let you do this anymore, rather than overhauling the whole thing and going to a free market, like, privatized police system.
Well, and because obviously what I'm suggesting is a ways off. It's not an easy thing to just transition to. But the problem, though, is with what you're saying is that what's the difference between now and what you're suggesting, and especially when the only what I'm getting out of that is just tell them to behave and
no, enforce it, because it doesn't take much to actually enforce it. A lot of it is, you know. There's not much more effort than signing a paper saying, hey, this cop overstepped, they lose their job now, you know, you're fired, that's it, you know, done. And rather than revamping the entire system.
Well, the only thing is that how do you then get that to actually work? Because if you're still at that point, you're still trusting the state to handle the state itself.
Yes, well, my whole point is that I'm not married to my idea.
No, I know.
But the thing is that it's a lot easier for the people who stand over the police to say, to smarten up. It's a lot cheaper and quicker for them to go, oh my god, you just murdered a person in cold blood for no fucking reason, you're fired, you're going to jail, than to revamp the entire police system. And I'm not saying that going to a privatized police force isn't a good or the best option. I'm just saying it is the hardest option.
Oh, totally. Yeah, no, and I would agree that as a temporary measure, then what you're saying, you know, makes sense. I get hung up on how do we know it's actually going to work.
It's so much easier for the people who are in charge of the police force to come to their fucking senses.
Yes and no. Yeah. I would say that.
No. I'm saying effort-wise.
Oh, effort-wise. Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, logistically, it is the quicker solution. The only thing, I guess, is it's not a reliable solution. And
yeah, because people are always going to be greedy. People are always going to be fucking dickheads.
Right. And because, like I said, human nature is this. And the reason I say human nature is to respond to incentive. That's a universal. Yeah. Like that applies to everyone responds to incentives. That is the human constant. Like, no matter who you are, no matter when you live, it's coded into us as animals.
And the cycle that I'm having a problem with here is the only way to get the people who oversee the police force to do their job is to get the people who oversee them, who are at the very top of the government, to do their job. And the only way to do that is to appeal to them en masse by protest or by writing in or whatever. And unfortunately, all of that is completely debunked by the fact that you cannot appeal to a system that inherently doesn't listen to you.
Exactly.
So protesting is done a lot in the way that in modern days we have let everybody know our actual standpoint. We don't sit by and let it happen quietly anymore. Mm-hmm. We take to the streets. We let everybody know we're not going to stand for this anymore. We're not going to morally sit back and let you do whatever the hell you want because you want to do it. We are going to let you know when you do something wrong, and we're going to let you know loud and clear and in mass. Mm-hmm. And the only problem is that you are appealing to a system who has actively chosen violence against you. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't matter, because as much as you want to, it's trying to discuss physics with a piece of drywall.
Yeah.
You know, that piece of drywall is going to be drywall no matter how many points you bring up.
Yeah, it's kind of like talking about objective morality with an academic, where it's like, but Hume said, and like, I don't give a shit what Hume said. Hume is wrong. Like, it...
Yeah, because the thing is, it's like, yeah, you may have learned all this stuff, but in general, the correct way to do things so that everybody winds up on fair ground is A, B, and C. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter what Hume said. Doesn't matter what anybody else said. So you can quote academic fucking whatever you want to me all day long, but in reality, the only way to get back to everyone being on equal ground, nobody being assaulted, nobody feeling in danger, is A, B, and C. Mm-hmm. Whatever A, B, and C may be. Mm-hmm. So it's you can't. It's like it's like a victim begging her rapist not to rape her. What does that do?
Yeah, no, that's basically what that's basically what it's like to try to deal with the government. And this is a large reason as to why I'm like, yeah, you know what? No, I think it's probably better if we start to wean ourselves off of this, because in the long run, we're just going to be playing a stupid power game that we don't need to be playing. That's only going to end badly for everyone involved.
Yeah, because they don't care about the things that you have to say. They have something to gain from you.
Mm-hmm. Right.
They have something to gain from exploiting you.
And honestly, I definitely believe that that's the root of all of this racial tension that's going on right now. It's not that there's some kind of deep-rooted racism in our country, in our culture. It's not that the white people in this country hate the black people in this country. That hasn't been true for decades. What's going on?
No, but I think that it's true on an individual level, and the system that I know what you're going to say. You're about to describe the system. The system empowers the people who still think that way. Even though they are the minority, they still hold positions of physical power over the people that they dislike.
To an extent, that's what I was going to say, but also, because it is true that there is individual...
No, I wasn't trying to explain your point. I was just trying to explain that, I agree with you that white people don't think that they're better than black people en masse. It's just that the white people who do think that they're better than black people typically apply for and achieve positions of authority over the people that they dislike, the people that they are biased against, because they vie for that option and manipulate their way into that office.
I can see that. I guess the exact numbers of that would be up in the air. But my point.
Yeah, it is definitely a small majority, but it does make it.
Yeah, it's an extreme minority of people, but what I'm getting at more is that the people in positions of power, especially the Democrats, because it's the Democrats that are pumping up this race stuff, and they're doing it for power. What they're doing is saying, look at these evil white people on the right. They hate you. They want to oppress you, and we're going to save you if you vote for us. We're going to give you money if you vote for us, and all this kind of stuff. And what they do is they manipulate people into believing that they're oppressed and that they need the government to save them. But the government doesn't want to save anybody. The government doesn't care about anybody.
The government wants to make money.
Right. All the government wants is to have more power.
Government came and took my paycheck.
Pretty much. I mean, but this is the thing, is that the government doesn't care about you. The government doesn't want to save you. The government doesn't... None of that stuff is true. The government is only interested in having more power. And so that's what's going on. That's the root of all of this racial tension right now, is the Democrats spinning this narrative that, oh, look at all these white supremacists, and oh, look at how prevalent this is, and oh, it's like, no, that's not what's going on. That's not true. What's going on?
Well, the prevalent thing is the fact that, cops are shooting American citizens who don't deserve it. They're
right.
Not just shooting, they are killing our neighbors,
right,
our friends, and our families.
And statistically independent of race.
Indiscriminately.
Right. Statistically, it's not a race thing, because
cops aren't supposed to shoot guilty people either.
Exactly. Unless a cop is pointing their gun at someone who initiated force with a deadly weapon, they should not be pointing their gun. Because rule number 1 of gun ownership is don't pull it out unless you intend to use it.
Yeah, 100%. And to quote Outkast, don't pull the thing out unless you plan to bang, and don't even bang unless you plan to hit something.
That's one way to put it.
So that song, as I do believe it's B.O.B. by Outkast, and I do believe that is completely about the war in Baghdad.
Okay.
Because B.O.B. stands for Bombs Over Baghdad.
Okay.
But it started being a prevalent song that people learned about after the 9/11 attacks and the way that we, infiltrated the Middle East and various countries over there.
Oh, that is just...
But it still stands prevalent because you shouldn't be using deadly force unless it's justified.
Right. And the only time deadly force is justified is when you're facing deadly force.
Yeah, exactly. But as a person who signs up as a protection job, you shouldn't be using deadly force unless using deadly force saves more people than it would lose if you didn't use it. If you put your life on the line and 2 people would survive from you dying, you need to lay your life down. That is the job that you signed up for. That is the contract that you signed. exactly the same oath that soldiers take that protect our country, is that if it saves 2 people, they will lose themselves, and they are heroes for it.
Mm.
I'm not going to say they're heroes in every situation, but the people who choose to save more peaceful people over eliminating several non-violent targets so that they get to go home, that's a monster.
Yeah.
And police make that choice every day in various situations. And you know what we need? We need more police that are going to go out into the streets and play football with kids in fucking low-income areas.
Yeah.
You know, we need police that are going to build them up and make them know that, you know, crime isn't the only thing that you have to do if you grew up in the projects.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we know you grew up poor. We know you had it hard. So you may have lost some family members to crime, but we got your back, buddy.
Yeah.
You know, when you get to, you know, working age, we're going to help you. We're going to, you know, get you in that gas station over there, you know, get you earning a weekly paycheck. We'll put you in the restaurant down the street flipping burgers so that you understand how to cook things, and then maybe one day you'll be a chef.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to get you... We are the community outreach program.
Yes, absolutely.
But the thing is that a lot of people... Like we were talking yesterday about the defund the police movement and the fact that people don't understand that defund the police doesn't mean abolish the police force, even though a lot of people use hyperbole to get their point across, and a lot of people are misinformed about what defund the police means. But it basically just means taking a small portion of the police funding, pulling it away, and reinvesting that into the community and community outreach programs, while removing the stress from the police, because they don't need to be called for wellness checks. They don't need to be doing, you know, no-knock raids and stuff like that. That puts an enormous amount of pressure on the police and puts their finger deeply on the trigger. But if you take that pressure off of them, then they don't have that high of a stress level. Or we suppose, you know, maybe nothing changes. We don't know until it happens. But the only way that we know is by taking those jobs. Police should be policing things. They shouldn't be doing medical jobs or doing wellness checks for social workers and stuff like that. Those should fall under social programs and community outreach programs, which would take a lot of the actual pressure off police so that they don't feel that every interaction falls under a deadly interaction. They're not so tightly wound. They're you know, they're not so stretched so thin. So we need to put more money into those programs so that we have non-violent and vocally and verbally trained people who can go out and we can talk people down from suicidal ledges. We can figure out job situations for families on a very tight budget in the projects. People who really need that kind of help, who may not have grown up with a full support network, who knew financial literacy and everything, but people that want their children to do well, and they want to put the work in, and they want to earn their peace and everything. A lot of these men and women who are being murdered indiscriminately by cops are going through a portion of like evolution in their lives. They want to fix the things that are wrong. However, something goes wrong, the cops get called, and several of these people get murdered because these cops are so stressed out, they're wound so tightly, or their training is wrong. They may be inherently racist people at their core. They may just be listening to a misguided supervisor who tells them to do certain things, and they don't question authority. There's a number of things, but if we put more money into the community, those cops wouldn't be on that call enough.
Yeah, and that's another one of the things I think is a very big benefit to. And again, obviously, I know that it's going to take a while before any of what I'm talking about as ideal solutions can possibly work. There is a long weaning period. We have to fight back.
But we need those ideals.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have the ideals, there's nothing to work towards. So you need to have your point of view.
Exactly.
Because otherwise, you don't know what steps to take towards the ideal situation.
Right. That's exactly right. And that's kind of why I kind of stick to this so much is, like in a privatized system, right? Not only do we have the safety, right, because we have the incentives to prevent police brutality, but also, people say like, oh, well, what happens if you can't pay for the police to come protect you? Well, in a voluntarist system, you have the ability to protect yourself. Like this defund the police, if it was about, like if they were going to say, okay, we're going to take away the funding for the police, and which I know what you were just saying. I think the only asterisk to that is you're now trusting the government to not just funnel that away for themselves and do something other than what they said they were going to do with it. So they might defund the police, and now you have police with less funding, and they can't do their jobs as effectively. And now also you still have gun laws that prevent you from protecting yourself, and you still have.
But that's also less police officers on the street that are funded that get to fire their guns at people.
Right, there is that element of it. But you also have. You can't protect yourself because you still have those gun laws that are in place. You're still paying taxes. You're still paying the same amount of money. It's just going to something else. But even then, there's no guarantee that it's going to go to something else. Because that's one of the biggest linchpins of taxes for me, is not only is it your property being taken against your will, but you have no guarantee and no recourse.
Which is why I was saying earlier that it should be like we should have an idea, or we should have some sort of say into where the money from our taxes are going.
And the only, and this is what I was kind of getting into before, is that the only, I think, ethical and practical way to do that is to have individual people just deciding for themselves, hey, you know what? Yeah, I want to contribute directly to this project. Not...
Yeah, like a forced, instead of taxes, a mandatory donation of your choice in the amount that your taxes are.
Mandatory donation is an oxymoron.
Well, no, because you get to donate towards the municipalities that you wish to fund. Which, listen, I don't have all the answers, but I would rather, instead of indiscriminately giving the government money, and I think we're giving far too much on it as individuals in the first place. Yep. Let's say that I give about 26% of my weekly earnings to the government. Let's say that I give 10%. However, instead of saying, we're just going to take it, they say, you need to give 10% to whatever you choose this week, but you need to make a choice by Sunday evening after you get your paycheck on Friday. So maybe that week I want to say, I noticed a pothole on my way to work. So the town that is in, I am going to give 5% of my earnings this week to that, and I'm going to give the other 5% that I am required to give to schooling. But you get to make that choice, and it is a reduced amount from what we're currently paying.
It's better than what we've got right now. I think it's a step in the right direction.
It's kind of our only option, man.
Well, I think it's a step in the right direction, but it's still theft, and that's the problem. Is that it's still compelled transfer of property. So
I get that, yeah.
And so that's theft, and theft is not okay. We can't have a society where one group of people is allowed to forcibly transfer property from other people, but then we turn around and say, well, you can't do that. Only the government can do that.
But at the same time, if that wasn't required, I would keep all of my money. I wouldn't give any of it. And then I know a lot of other people that would say the same thing, and then nothing would get done in
Well, so here's the thing about that, because I
civic way.
I know what you're gonna say. Yeah, I know what you're getting at there, because I've heard that before. I've heard that a lot. And here's the thing: you absolutely have the right to say, no, I'm not going to give any of my money to any of this, but the incentive to do so is when you recognize, hey, nothing's getting done, and I don't like living in a place where none of this is getting done and where people are suffering because I'm being selfish. So here, you know what? I'm going to do this. Now, I think part of the reason why
I'm not going to speak for these people, but I think at least part of the reason why, say, some of these billionaires don't donate more and they're not as philanthropic as they should be morally is because, well, the government's got it. The government's got welfare and they're taking care of them.
Oh, God, yeah.
So I think that's a big part of it, is that people get complacent when there's this idea that, the state will take care of it. But when the state's not taking care of it and people realize, hey, we actually have to do something. We actually have to voluntarily engage in our community. You actually build much better values too. You build more community values. You build more tight-knit relationships, and you get people to be friendlier and more giving and generous, and not as, like, I notice a lot lately, in the last several years at least, people are very closed off from each other. They're very me, and I don't care about you, and I don't want to have anything to do with you. We're neighbors, but we never talk to each other. And I think a lot of that also comes from the way the state handles things. I think the fact that people don't have to interact with their community as much because, the government will do it. That I think that's part of it. And so if people,
it's definitely a gigantic part of it, but we doing that also. You have to realize that we raised capitalists to come to the ideals that you are suggesting. We need to raise
capitalists.
No, we don't. We need to raise.
Well, here's the thing.
Technically, anarcho-socialists.
No. Well, that's kind of an oxymoron.
It's not an oxymoron because it's literally like somebody from the left and somebody from the right mixed into one person that's deeply down the middle, which would eventually lead into libertarianism or just straight up like an independent cut down the middle. But the idea is that you want to make sure that you take care of the individual, but you also want to make sure that the individual takes care of the community. You need to raise people who have the community mindset while also making sure that they do their part and earn enough to be able to support their community.
That's capitalism. And so here's the thing.
No, it's absolutely not capitalism.
No, it is.
It's not forced at that point, and capitalism is forced. We want to make sure that this is something that. No, what do you mean by that?
Okay, so capitalism is voluntary exchange of property. So with a profit motive, which the profit motive comes from
but we don't
satisfaction.
We don't have the voluntary.
Okay, but that's the thing. Okay, so we don't, and actually we said this before, is that we don't actually have a proper capitalist society. We have a pseudo-capitalist society where the government and has these things called corporations that buy power from the government and all that kind of stuff for in special treatment. And they engage in in capitalism, but they don't exactly do it right because of those special protections, and because they're allowed to be unethical because they have the power of the state to back them. And because if I'm not ethical in my business, I go out of business. That's not true of Walmart or Amazon or anything like that, or GM or any of these other companies that are multinational corporations. They have the backing of the state. I don't. So.
Yeah, no. I definitely understand where you're coming from when you're talking about that.
Right. So I'm and I'm like I said, I'm dead in the middle, and I'm a capitalist. So what I'm talking about here is that capitalism, as a matter of principle, is simply voluntary exchanges, and the way that you get those voluntary exchanges is by satisfying people's wants and needs. And so, if for instance, if I come along and I say, hey, I will perform this service for your community. And in exchange for, this much money, right?
Yep.
A need is being met that these people value at or above my price, right? So.
Well, that's exactly what I was trying to describe. But you said that it wasn't correct. But because in our current situation, what happens is that instead of that happening, and we make the active voluntary choice to say, hey, we want this thing here, so we're going to pay towards it. It is taken from our wages, and then during that time that it's taken from our wages, we don't know that person is being paid. And so I actually have a situation that I can quote that backs that up. So my mom for 23 years owned a mobile home park in a village close to my town.
Mm-hmm.
And the water system, the transfer of water from state water to town water, was built in the 1920s. So all of the pipes were eroding and rotting and everything. So part of my job growing up, when I started working at like 11 years old, was to go and dig those things up. And then the guy that I used to work with, who was the not the property manager, but the guy that used to take care of things, he would fix those breaks in the water lines, and then I would put the dirt back in the fucking hole.
Mm-hmm.
But my parents, because it was a town water line and the town had paid for it originally, my parents went against the town in a gigantic lawsuit and said, hey, you decided to put this in, so it's your responsibility to get this up to your code.
Mm-hmm.
It's not our responsibility to fix the water lines that you put in 100 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
We know that you obviously, as representatives, didn't do it. But then what wound up happening was they had somebody come in and survey the plot. They had somebody come in and make an architectural plan of how to proceed. Eventually, after all of the professionals that the town had hired, it was like $300,000 they spent in professionals to do that job. And then the town said, well, we're not going to pay those people.
Right.
Well, they didn't fix any of the problems, so we're not going to pay them. And my dad had said, well, the work is already fucking done. You've already been billed.
Mm.
So I get where you're coming from, but oftentimes the sovereignty at that point decides not to go in on the promises that they've made. They decide to actively they decide to take without giving.
And that
They think that I didn't take enough to warrant me giving any amount back.
right, and that's what I'm talking about, and that's why you need the capitalist solution, which is
A forced way to
No.
ensure that anything that is given is repaid.
No. What I'm not sure if maybe you're using force a different way than I'm thinking of it, but
I'm thinking of like if in that situation, the person, like the engineers and the architects, deserve to get paid for the work that they did,
Mhm.
and it should be the law's job to force the municipality that is responsible for that monetary gain to pay back the work that has already been done that they are now saying we don't want to pay for.
Okay, so I think what you're talking about is a situation where now you're talking about where the state is not going to pay people.
Yes, after the work has already been done, which I'm worried in your situation. That's what I'm worried about happening, is that we are more relying on an honor system where what I was saying originally is that we need to start raising people that will actually stand by the honor system and do what's right by what you're suggesting.
Oh yeah, no,
It's not going to happen in our generation.
Right,
so we
right.
need to raise those people that are going to do it.
Right.
But if we enact that too quickly, what I'm afraid of is that the people are not going to stand by that, and they're going to do exactly what I had just described and say, there was work done, but I don't think that we need to pay for it. And then they won't pay for it, and then nobody gets paid, and everything gets all fucked up.
Well, okay, so there's a few things to that. The first part being, this is why I say that we need to wean off of the state system, because it's a very long process, and there's a big paradigm shift that needs to happen.
Need to quickly interject. I got about 3 more minutes. I'm doing a hard stop in about 3 minutes because I have a ride out of state.
Okay.
Right now, who's sitting in my room waiting for me.
Okay.
But so if we could just wrap up this point and do an outro.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. I didn't even know. I knew.
No, it's totally fine. Totally
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, but basically, what I was getting at is that we have. So this is why we need to wean off of the state system, and we need to. This is a long process. But what I'm getting at is, so like, in that situation you described, that's the state, that's the sovereignty that lords over these people, who is just exercising that. Yeah, no, we're not gonna. No, we have the power, and we're gonna say no. But
they basically hired somebody and then said, well, we're not gonna.
Right. So in a capitalist system, what I'm talking about now, so that the people not paying would be the individuals who who wanted the work done in their community, right? So now they're saying, now we're not going to pay you. Well, if you basically, when you hire somebody in a capitalist exchange, you have a contract that says, we are going to do this work in exchange for this compensation, which is this much money based on our estimates and what we've done and all that stuff, right? So
yeah, and unfortunately, in our situation, it was a little bit more complicated than having the homeowners.
Yeah. So basically,
I know what you're saying, but I just wanted anybody who's listening, I just wanted to clear that up, where it wasn't the people in the area who had hired them. It was my parents who appealed to the state, and then the state hired these people, and then the state said that they weren't paying.
Okay, right.
So continue.
Yeah. So basically, what I'm getting at here is, in a capitalist exchange is simply, I have a good or service, you want that good or service, here's how much I want in exchange for that good or service. Do you value that good or service at or above what I'm asking? Yes, then you pay me. No, you don't pay me. End of story. And I'll go find somebody who will, or I'll adjust my price until someone wants it, right? So that's how capitalism works. That's a purely voluntary thing. There is no force whatsoever involved in that. Now, what I'm talking about in the instance of let's say that the people screw the water line company, right? Well, now you have a contract that wasn't upheld, and you have what would be called dispute resolution organizations. They're kind of like courts, but not the state, and more efficient. And it would be basically you would have a mediation where the contract is brought up, and representatives from both parties, either the whoever that might be, whoever's most appropriate for that, whether the company wants to hire somebody to represent them, like a lawyer or whatever, right? But it would be very simple. No, you homeowners who signed this contract, you agreed to pay these people for the work that was done. You pay them, or they're and whatever might be the appropriate consequence in that situation can be worked out, right?
Yes, because in our particular situation, it was a several $100,000 lawsuit,
right,
against the town,
right. So this is kind of what I'm getting at. So there are mechanisms in a voluntarist system where we don't need the state, and like I said, and I think most people are reasonable enough that they would recognize, especially again by the time we're talking about this potentially being the case, if people are willing to listen to those of us speaking reason and those of us who are trying to educate people on philosophical thinking and actually ingrain these values, these principles, and this rational way of thinking, people I think would be reasonable enough to say, hey, I could hang on to all of my money and be a selfish toad, or what I could do is I could recognize that I don't want to live in a society that doesn't have good infrastructure, that doesn't have well-funded education, that doesn't have, go down the list, all these nice things that we want, but that the state doesn't even do a very good job. And I won't even get into this because we're out of time, but Rhode Island is an absolute shit show in terms of infrastructure. It's a joke.
The municipal maintenance in Rhode Island is an absolute travesty.
Oh,
I don't know if my microphone picked that up, but
barely.
Hold on. The municipal maintenance in Rhode Island is an absolute travesty.
It is, and we're paying obscene taxes for it.
Yeah, the taxes are absolutely crazy at that point for something that you're not getting what you're paying for.
Right.
So, well, guys, unfortunately we are kind of out of time for the day. We have a couple of things that need to get taken care of in our personal lives, so we're going to cut that off, and we'll take this conversation up at a later date. So, I have been Nick.
I have not been Shane.
And that's it for today's show. Thank you guys so much. So, I just had a thought because I remembered something I saw on Instagram the other day. There was two comedians who were reenacting a Joe Rogan skit,
Mm-hmm.
and one of them was playing Joe, and the other one was playing Ben Shapiro.
Oh God.
And the idea behind it was, like they were trying to over kind of dramatize the two people,
Mm-hmm.
and within the first couple seconds, it's like, "Hey Ben, how are you doing?" It's like, "Hi Joe, how's it going? I'm very happy to be here. This is me, Ben Shapiro. If you go to my website at benshapiro.com," and the other guy goes, "Elk meat." The guy playing Ben is like, "What?" And he goes, "Oh no, I was just trying to set a record for the quickest time that I could mention elk meat on one of my podcasts."
That's pretty amusing.
Do you eat elk meat?
Well, no, but I mean, if it's kosher, I'll eat it.
And how about DMT? Do you do DMT?
Well, no, I haven't done DMT yet, but if it's kosher, I'll do it.
Ben is an interesting creature.
So is Joe. I'm literally like on my TV right now behind me. I have paused the 2 days ago. Joe posted an interview with Post Malone.
Oh God.
I fucking love it.
Oh God.
I love Post Malone so fucking much.